What's going on? I am Nando.
And I'm a DJ variant.
And I'm the Nando from Universe 742.
And this is Mostly Nitpicking, a podcast where every week we pick apart a piece of pop culture by looking exclusively at the details. Woohoo!
Woohoo! Yeah.
This week, Marvel's. Well, you know what? I guess we've said so many variant. The word variant has come up so many times that may not be that specific. Like, you may, even with that introduction, not know if we're talking about Loki or, you know, Ant-Man or any of the other bazillions of Marvel things. So we'll keep your attention for a little longer and say that we're going to talk about Across the Spider-Verse. Is that what this one's called? Really bad at this.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
I cannot wait. Apparently, I looked this up, by the way, because I was curious. Earth 742, according to Marvel fan canon, is the residence of something called Norman Pappy. But I don't know what that means. But that does exist. That is a universe. So
yeah, I went to the Norman Pappy page on this wiki that you're looking at, and it is not answering that question for me.
Not even a little bit. Yeah. It answers it with, you know, Norman Pappy from Earth 742.
Oh, wait, hold on. Here's some information. Norman Pappy has the same powers as Noah Gramps.
Oh, that makes sense.
You know.
Yeah.
You know.
We do know that. So whatever that means, guys, we're talking about Across the Spider-Verse. I cannot wait. But we will, because we have to talk news first. There's big news this week, you guys.
It's been a while since we've gotten together.
Yeah, it has been a while. And I feel like there's been a couple of newses, actually. I feel like there was the one news that we didn't talk about, which I think we probably should, before we get to the actual news, is that apparently a certain monster of a man, a giant man, tallest man there is, has been upset with the performance of another giant tall man in his movie. And I know what you're thinking. The Rock and Vin Diesel are feuding again? No. Apparently, Vin Diesel not psyched about Jason Momoa and his scene-stealing role in whatever movie that was, Fast X. Have you heard this?
Is he mad that people like Jason Momoa in that movie?
Yeah, he's mad that they like Jason Momoa more than him. And Jason Momoa has been kind of, a lot of reviews, not all, have said that Jason Momoa is like the standout role. And the movie is not like bombing, but it's kind of doing very poorly in America. So Finn assumes, logical man that he is, this new element must be what is causing the bombing. And so he's apparently upset with Jason.
That so many people are saying they like is the reason it's bombing.
That's exactly right. And yeah, so that is apparently a thing. You know, welcome to 2014, everybody. Vin Diesel's mad at a co-star. We know how this one goes. He'll be in the post-credit scene of the next one. Maybe the cycle will speed up to the point where it'll just happen immediately, you know?
Well, I mean, he has to be in the next one, right? Considering how Fast X ended.
Well, that's true.
Replace him, you know, right?
Maybe he'll die like 5 minutes in. Because they haven't shot it yet, apparently. It's not like, I mean, of course not. But like, you kind of figure with these two-part movies, you try to make them at the same time so that they can be somewhat continuous. But that one, it comes out in like 3 years. So
great. I
could see him getting somewhat rewritten out of the script pretty quickly.
It's a good thing I don't care about the resolution of that cliffhanger, because that's a long time to wait.
I know, right? And even if it's a bad thing if we do care about the resolution of the cliffhanger. Why is this the year of these? Between Spider-Verse, this, Mission Impossible, we got a lot of part ones.
I mean, to be
fair, this is just how movies are now, unfortunately.
Spider-Verse,
like these big budget franchise ones,
is supposed to come out next year. So
yeah.
And that's not a super long wait.
At the red carpet or something, they asked Haley Steinfeld, how far are you guys on it? And she's like, yeah, I haven't recorded any lines for it yet. So it's definitely not coming out in a year. There's absolutely no way. It's coming out in like 4 years.
I do think the strike might have delayed it a little.
Yeah, and that too. But yeah, these things, these multi-part movies do kind of really thrive on a well-oiled Hollywood machine that doesn't exist anymore, so it's tough. But it gives the actors enough time to start hating each other so that the movie can change and reflect that. And I think that's great.
Hey, look, it's okay for this one because voice actors never spend time together anyway. They're all recording separately in their own booth.
That's true.
Is that what Vin Diesel wants, to not be near anyone? If he could just do Fast in a booth?
You can be Groot in the Fast movies.
Vin Diesel doesn't mind being around other actors as long as they all bow down to him and acknowledge him as the alpha, and no one ever gets more popular than him.
Now, I think we do need Sean Gunn on set doing mocap for Vin Diesel in the future of these. Or whoever they use for Groot or something, and just have that be what we do with these in the future. Because if you put Vin Diesel on the set with another giant man, him and the giant man will eventually feud. There's no escaping it. There's only a matter of time before Alan Richardson becomes the target of Vin's ire.
Oh no.
Yep.
Not Alan Richardson.
We love him. But you guys, there's other news. There was another news that I wanted to talk about. But
There's other news?
There's other news, and it's somewhat, some would say worse. Is that they're making a Zelda movie, you guys. That Zelda movie that we all knew they were going to make when Mario made $1 billion. They are actually going to make it.
Oh,
yay.
man. Okay,
It's
guys.
Illumination. Yeah?
Who will Dwayne The Rock Johnson be cast as?
Well, I mean, your tweet had a really good Dwayne The Rock Johnson in there, so I can't argue. And also, I don't know that much about Zelda, but I kind of know what that thing looks like, and that's the biggest thing.
Look, it would be funny if he played a Goron, but yeah, I'm thinking they might go with a Ganondorf or some other, like, bigger role.
Oh, yeah, because do you remember a couple of years ago, well, maybe not years ago, maybe about a year ago, The Rock very, very cryptically tweeted, I'm in a movie, it's a video game, one I love and have played since birth, which is always a lie, but, like, he says that, and we all went, Metal Gear or God of War, some giant man movie, but then, not like Metal Gear is a giant man movie, but he could be a Metal Gear villain, but then you're like, oh, but what if he was talking about this? I could see it.
I mean, he's definitely still lying, but it could be what it is.
Oh, yeah, I don't mean I think he played this game, I just mean this could have been the game he was talking about the whole time.
Also, I do want to say real quick to you saying that's always a lie. I have one counterfactual here, which is that Nick Cage recently showed up at a...
I saw that!
At a gaming event, like an event that they were doing to announce a bunch of games. I think Sony was. And some people were like, Nick Cage isn't a gamer. And someone broke in. This is Bofa Di Beppo on Twitter. Said, sorry to break it to you, but I worked at a game store he came into once and asked if we had the Bomberman game with the good soundtrack and left with both N64 ones, a Japanese PS2, and every Godzilla game we had stocked.
That's great.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, I love him. He's,
While doing this, he was wearing a cowboy hat and a lime green suit.
I could definitely see the cowboy hat. He wears that in some of his stuff now. Didn't he have one of those in the, Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent?
I think so, at one point.
I feel like that first scene where he like does the little like hand kind of motion, it's like I'm Nick Cage and bows to the guy. I'm pretty sure he's wearing the hat in that. It's
that sounds right.
Yeah, I mean, like, listen, if I looked as good as he looks in the hat, I'd wear it too. But I don't. But you guys, Legend of Zelda. Who's gonna be in it? Who's the hot new thing?
Chris Pratt.
Well, yeah. Besides Chris Pratt, besides any of the ones
we know
from
he'll
the
be
other
in
one.
it, right?
I mean, he'll be in it as Mario, I'm sure. I'm sure he's going to pop through a fucking portal or something at the very end and go, gotta do a Super Smash Bros. Or something.
Yeah, who are they going to get to voice Link? Because we all know there's no... If they wouldn't do Italian accent Mario, there's no way they're doing mute Link.
No.
Yeah, that's so true.
I mean,
Although, what a bold choice that would fucking be, man. That would be such a fucking bold choice.
It's not that... Yeah,
I would respect it so hard.
They could do Minion Link. They could have everybody Minion speak. Cause,
oh my god. What would be worse? Minion speak Link or famous celebrity Link?
Oh god.
I mean, we joke.
Minion speak Link. I have to go with that one.
I do see a world where Tom Holland gets this role and is actually kind of well suited for it. I don't think he'd be a good voice actor, but I do think he's got kind of what I'd expect is Link's voice.
I think Tom Holland Link would turn out like Chris Pratt Mario, where you're listening to it and you're like, I guess that's actually fine. But it's like not special and does not feel great.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So then the question is, what character actor redeems us with a fun Ganondorf or something? Who's that guy
Ganondorf's
now?
not like a funny villain the way Bowser is, you know?
He didn't used to be, but he's about to be.
But like a Joe Pesci.
Oh.
I know that's like an insane choice, but like...
Do you mean in that cartoon, Nando? Are you talking about the cartoon?
No, I just mean like he's going to be now because that's how these work.
Oh, sorry, you're saying
That Jack
he
Black
used to
thing
be
was popular,
serious.
so now he's going to be silly again. Yeah. I don't know what the cartoon... Is there a cartoon?
No. I'm saying Bowser is silly. I'm saying Ganondorf isn't.
That's what I mean. I mean, Ganondorf will become silly. He will sing a song on a piano because that worked with Bowser.
Mm-hmm. He does play the organ in Ocarina of Time. He plays his own theme song on the organ as you approach his boss fight, which kind of
That's
owns,
awesome.
now that I say it
That's
out
like
loud.
what Cogman does. Remember Cogman, you guys? Is there room for him in
Cogman,
this?
your favorite.
Yeah, why isn't he in the Spider-Verse somewhere? It's bullshit. Yeah, I
feel
don't
like
know.
The place for a fun character actor would probably be a Goron, because they're just like dudes, you know? They're just like guys. They're just chilling out, eating rocks, having a good time.
Yeah, for sure.
So you think like this is also a role that I would not be shocked if we saw Seth Rogen in, were it not for Donkey Kong.
Oh man, what if guys, wouldn't it be so guys, wouldn't it be so funny if like wouldn't it be so funny if like the rocks were like weed?
And he's like, I'm
man, that'd be
stoned
so great.
right now, you
I
guys.
say I'm stoned.
Yeah,
oh my god, you
that's
guys.
So good, you guys. You know what? Fuck it. Nobody remembers Seth Rogen was in the last one. He's in this one too, you guys. We're the producers
let's
of
go.
Illumination. Crushing it. I think, you know what? Okay. Here's my guess. I'm going to throw two actors out here. One of these will probably be Ganondorf. If they wanted to, I think I could see Jason Momoa Ganondorf.
Okay.
Just because he's a big guy in real life, and that's about how creative these usually are. I could also see Benedict Cumberbatch Ganondorf. In a post-Smog, the Grinch has sex with Mom world. I think Illumination may choose him as the big evil villain.
See, I think you can't do that because while he doesn't map to a real world ethnicity super well, Ganondorf is not white.
That's true. Well, I mean, there is a specific thing that Ganondorf kind of is in some of the art, so we gotta not map it to that.
Yes.
Say, those Zelda games.
They've de-emphasized that over time.
That's wonderful. I mean, they made Ganondorf the hottest guy now, right? That's something people are very excited about in the new game. So
the actual explanation is there is an employee at Nintendo, like a character designer, who is super horny for Ganondorf, and when it came to Tears of the Kingdom, they were like, "You're in charge of Ganondorf. You can do whatever you want." And they were like, "My time has come."
That's awesome. That's pretty funny. Yeah, I don't know. I think this movie's gonna stink, but it'll probably make... Do you think it'll make as much money as Mario? Is Zelda as immediately popular and recognizable as Mario?
I mean, I don't think anything is as immediately popular and recognizable as Mario as far as video games go.
Right.
Yeah, Zelda's big, but not fucking Mario big.
So is it big like they have to try?
No.
Okay.
But it's like, it might not... See, this would be the test, because it might not have the amazing... incredible success that
I don't think
first movie had.
Even if they do it exactly the same, which they will, I don't think the Zelda movie is going to have like the biggest opening of an animated movie of all time, just because it's not Mario.
Agreed. Yeah. Very much agree.
How do you think this becomes a Super Smash Brothers thing? Is it just a portal? Does Zelda have like magic portals that can travel through dimensions, kind of like Mario does, built into it?
Depends on which Zelda, but sometimes, yeah, sort of.
You gotta kind of assume it's Ocarina of Time, right? I feel like that's probably what this movie will be.
I mean, Breath of the Wild is the big new hotness, but also that's really hard to turn into a coherent story. It's not going to be any specific one. It's going to be like an amalgam, which actually does make sense for Zelda, because that's kind of what Zelda is.
Right.
But, it's just going to take the motifs and probably make its own story out of it.
Yeah, agreed.
Honestly, if they wanted to start teasing Super Smash Brothers, this is where you would put the post-credit scene that Mario does, where Link finds a Yoshi egg or something, and you'd be like, "Oh, that's Super Smash Brothers."
But like, why are we mixing universes?
That's how it
I
goes.
feel like
the MCU
DJ.
exists.
That's the rules.
DJ.
Yeah.
Everything has to be this now. Everything's the dark universe.
Everything is the dark universe.
I mean, arguably a Super Smash movie would be sick, right? Like that would be a cool, fun thing to do. But like, I don't know, to what end?
To destroy the franchise. That's why they do all these,
Yeah,
to punish
to
us.
fuck with us.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we're also getting another Detective Pikachu movie. That's something that's on the horizon. I believe Idris has been cast in that as the villain. Idris would be a good Ganondorf now that I think about it. Maybe he'll be Ganondorf in both. But yeah, that's coming.
Man.
You know what? I want Ben Affleck to be Ganondorf. Can we get that going? Can we get that, building?
Ben Affleck Ganondorf. I don't hate that, actually.
Yeah, I think he's a good actor, and Ganondorf has like Boston energy. I feel like I could see that guy roaming around, the South, those barbecues and such.
Yeah, you think he would hang out with Mark? Do you think, like Mark Wahlberg, if he had been on the plane in 9/11, then nothing would have happened?
Oh God, no.
Ganondorf? Yeah, I do. I think so. Ganondorf, unless he had organized it, he wouldn't let anybody else steal his thunder.
Well, we got to be careful about saying that, given the thing you said earlier about Ganondorf.
That's true. Speaking of barbecues, stuff like that, we got to talk about a movie that has a barbecue, has a cookout. I don't know if there's a difference. You guys, we're talking about Across the Spider-Verse. Mm-hmm. Part 1, just kidding. Forget about that. It's still on some of the merchandise. I got a toy the other day, and it had that on it. Across the Spider-Verse Part 1.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I actually, a quick anecdote, I had told Michelle that, it's like a Part 1, and before we went in, I just want you to know so you're not surprised at the end. And she's like, when was this announced or whatever as a Part 1? And I'm like, a long time ago, but it was.
Yeah, the first trailer kind of thing had Miles and what's-his-name flipping through time or whatever, and then just Across Spider-Verse Part 1, and that was a big announcement. And then they changed it because, for whatever reason, I don't know, because those are unpopular.
Were they trying to bury it for some reason? I don't know.
Well,
I think
it is technically like supposed to be now not a Part 1 and a Part 2, but like the second part of a trilogy and the third part of a trilogy. Like it's a very subtle distinction, but that is the idea here.
Interesting. I don't think this has been made clear because I do feel like the first movie doesn't feel like a first part of a trilogy, and this feels like a 2-part movie. But that could be. I
mean, that's kind of like what the original trilogy of Star Wars is like, really.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's fair.
And I also think Hollywood burnt out all the goodwill on Part 1s and Part 2s.
Yeah, by doing it
2010s. Yeah, exactly, or early 2010s. So anybody was just like, wait, is this like Divergent or Allegiant or whatever, and Convergent or whatever the last one was called? And they were like, oh shit, you're right, never mind. Let's call it anything else. But you guys,
it's like, stop it. Yeah,
we got to talk about Across the Spider-Verse. Jesus Christ. You guys.
Oh, you surprised me with that one, you bastard.
I was really surprised by Jesus Christ Spider-Man. I didn't think they'd go there.
I mean, he's the one Spider-Man they haven't gone to Earth 1, or Earth 3, Earth Trinity, where Spider-Christ resides, but they could get him. Maybe he's the hero of the next one.
Could be.
Maybe, we don't know. But yeah, we have to talk about Across the Spider-Verse.
Woo!
Yeah. Are Spider-Man Christian, like Daredevil, or Catholic, where you would assume they'd be like, all right, guys, I know we got a lot of Spider-Verse problems. Let us pray. Let God sort this out.
I believe Peter B. Parker, the Spider-Man, is Jewish in
this one. Yeah. More explicitly.
Yeah.
In the comics, it's always something that people are like, he's kind of Jewish, but they've never like fully said it. But in this, he does the stomping on a glass thing during his wedding, right? I think that's the signal we get in the one. Yeah.
That's what gets you.
So he's probably not going to pray to Christian God, but
probably not.
You could start, you never know. Any of them could, but especially
he just needs, if Mary Jane was like the girlfriend from the Fablemans, then maybe that's what would have happened.
What if the car was like, guys, let us pray real quick, and you'd be like, ooh, the car's the Catholic one. Okay. We'll never know.
Well, there is the Pope-mobile from the Cars universe, so
that's right.
So we do know that Cars has a form of... Cars have Catholicism. This is canon.
That's right. Yeah, so Across the Spider-Verse, you got all the guys are back. The one, Shameik Moore, Haley Steinfeld. Who else is in this? Who else is in the first one? What's the other one? Jake Johnson?
Jake Johnson as Peter B. Parker.
Peter B. Parker.
Oscar Isaac as Miguel O'Hara.
And Moon Knight. And Apocalypse.
Yeah. Wow. He's going everywhere, huh?
This one might be good.
Yeah,
but we got those two roles. Who else is? Who's his dad? It's what's his name? It's Fastos, right? The Eternal's his own.
Brian
from
Tyree
Atlanta.
Henry. Yeah.
Yeah. Issa Rae's in this one. Jason Schwartzman. A couple of other. Andy Samberg in a surprising little role.
I loved that.
I feel like I'm forgetting some. Oh, Daniel Kaluuya is the other kind of star.
Oh, yeah. Daniel Kaluuya is Spider-Punk.
Yeah. Among others. There's plenty of others.
That one surprised me, because I always forget that he's British, because he plays, like, our best, like, American roles, but he's British.
He does. Yeah. He's, as an actor, he's like, hidden his Britishness very well.
Oh, yeah.
Which
he's
is
the real
advisable.
Secret Invasion.
It's
British
advisable,
people.
yeah.
Exactly, yeah.
You should never let people know you're British if you don't have to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I do think he's one of those actors that's always on lists for potential James Bonds, and I'm always like, but why him? He's American. And then my brain's like, no, you're wrong. So,
Oh, could he be in the next Zelda?
Oh.
I mean, but is Zelda woke? That's the real question we have to say. We can't ask that question yet,
true.
but I do think that'll come up. Because, yeah. But you guys, Across the Spider-Verse, that's everybody in it, right? I don't know. There's some
It's all
other.
the
Shea Wingham
big people, I guess.
isn't
Other
it?
than... Yeah, Shea Wingham is Captain Stacy, Gwen's dad. Who plays the Indian Spider-Man?
That guy from Deadpool, whose name I refuse to learn because the guy from Deadpool has always been such a good way to say his name. I don't remember. I'm trying to remember who's the mom. That's the one actor that, without being able to look at IMDb, I'm like, I don't know who that is. But Rachel Dratch is also in this one. Isn't that something?
And it looks like Rachel Dratch, too.
It does look like Rachel Dratch. She did a good job. They nailed it. And then you guys, some cameos are in it, you guys. Wouldn't you know it?
Lauren Velez as Rio Morales.
Is she from stuff?
She was Maria Lagerta on Dexter. Dr. Gloria Nathan on Oz. Elena on Ugly Betty.
Okay. I've seen some of those. I don't remember which one that was, but that's okay. So she's like a person that some people know. You never know with these animated movies.
Oh, guys, she's going to be Brianna Diaz in Transformers Rise of the Beasts.
Oh, my... She got back-to-back
I haven't
weeks.
seen that one yet. Yeah.
Look at her go.
That's great. Good for her.
Good for her.
Yeah. It's like, isn't somebody in this and Flash as well? Can't remember who.
I mean, there's so many people in this movie.
That's true.
You figure there has to be some crossover, right?
There's a lot of crossover this summer with movies in general.
Well, they're all coming out. We're getting every movie this summer.
That's true.
In the same way we're getting every video game, and it's my personal hell.
It's bad because they make the movies, like, even for people that like seeing movies in theaters, not like me and DJ who hate it now because it's bad. And the theater experience for this one was okay, but not terrific. Now there's just not enough IMAXs, and Tom Cruise has to fight with Christopher Nolan over which one of them wants to fuck the IMAX camera more. And now it's causing a big problem or something. I don't know.
Incredible.
DJ, you're the IMDb'sman, correct?
I'm so happy.
I'm so impressed, yeah. Because you did win last week. I remember that. It was a good,
Thank goodness.
decisive victory, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not doing like an insurrection or whatever. Like, I did win, so yeah.
Yeah, because you remembered and could describe more accurately Transformers The Last Night. So is that really a win?
Yes. Because it means I don't have to describe that movie or this movie. So yeah, we're killing it.
Yeah. So, DJ, what happens?
Diggins, oh, right. It's been so long, guys. So, guys, we're doing the game show, IMDb, B as in spelling bee, where two of us has to guess what the IMDb summary is. And you're wondering, hey, where did the IMDb summaries come from? And it turns out that every movie that was ever made exists in, like, this future where there's all the movies with all the writers, but all the writers is variants. And so they take a movie that was written in one universe and they get all the variants of those writers together and they basically battle royale until only one of the writers is standing. And that writer gets to decide by themselves what the IMDb summary is for the movie that they did or didn't write, depending on like what the variant situation is there.
And this is what the writer's strike is trying to stop. But
basically,
Netflix has made this the way movies are made now, and everybody's like, we got to stop having these battle royales.
Yeah.
It's not helpful for the industry.
It's not. It's very hurtful.
I hear that Netflix is looking into importing a million monkeys and a million typewriters and seeing what happens.
Ooh, that's a good idea.
They would love that, yeah. But, so that is how it happens. Who goes first with this one?
Diggins gets to decide.
I do get to decide. And I'm going to let Nando go first.
Yeah. Oh, man. I think this one's going to be... Okay, so my thought process here, I'm going to say it out loud so then I can come up with a sentence as we go. I think that this is going to be rather simple because there's not a lot to say. Because there's not a lot of plot. There's a lot of things that happen, but it's very kind of... So I'm going to say... Miles Morales is doing his best being his universe's only Spider-Man when a multi-dimensional threat, do we call it multiversal? Yeah. When a multiversal villain threatens the universe, threatens reality, Miles needs to team up with a team of Spider-Men from different dimensions and take the villain down. I don't love it, but that's what I got.
Okay, Diggins.
All right. I kind of agree with Nando that the summary will probably be at least slightly wrong.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna go a little vaguer, I think, because I think this is gonna be a vague summary. Okay. Miles Morales, after a year of being Spider-Man, is suddenly Miles Morales, a year into being Spider-Man, meets a team of Spider-Men from different dimensions who reveal a multiversal threat that forces Miles to make a choice about who he wants to be.
I like that.
Yeah, I was worried, Diggins, but you pulled it out at the end by getting all the
that's
last
not
stuff.
good.
I also you did copy a lot of what Nando said, but I guess that's what gets to happen when you get to go second, right?
That's right. I get to cheat.
Yeah. So you win, Diggins. Congratulations on cheating.
Yes.
And winning.
Wow.
I'm happy for you.
Listen, to all the kids out there listening, first of all, you shouldn't listen to us. We do curse words. Secondly, always cheat. Cheating always makes you win.
All right, so let me give this to you guys. So, I didn't want to contaminate the jury pool or anything, but it is actually a little bit longer. But I think it actually helped you, Diggins, because your was a little bit longer, and I think you got more of it. But here's what it is: Miles Morales catapults across the multiverse, where he encounters a team of spider people charged with protecting its very existence. When the heroes clash on how to handle a new threat, Miles must redefine what it means to be a hero. Yeah. So that end part, I think you really captured. You didn't exactly use those words, but I think you captured the idea of it.
I got the idea of an internal crisis in Miles being an important thing in the movie.
Exactly. That is correct. So, Nando, unfortunately, you missed out on that. You did have a lot of the words there, but I think it was so similar to Diggins, and then he got that extra part at the end. So, sorry.
I think we can all agree that this is super fair, and obviously I definitely won, and there's no need to question it.
Just the 1 week, well, not the 1 week, because maybe there'll be one in a couple weeks where I probably would have gotten the tiebreaker over Diggins because I know most of the names of them already, and this is usually my Achilles heel. Maybe for Transformers, I can know the names of more of them.
Did you have a tiebreaker ready, DJ?
Hell nah.
All right. Well, I'm not gonna make you come up with one then.
Diggins, I was clenching, and then you said the thing at the end. I was like, oh, thank goodness. Because I did not have one ready. But, yeah, congrats, Diggins. So
tiebreaker is name as many of the spider variants who are not just Spider-Man as you can.
Right?
Yeah, right. So congratulations, Diggins. And to Nando, you must now tell us what happened in this lovely movie.
So this movie, it's pretty much the trailers. It's all the stuff for the trailers. And you're like, what's the rest of it? And it's not. It's next movie. So if you've seen it, you'll know that basically the beginning 10 minutes is recounting the stuff from the first movie twice. We get two, hey, here's what happened last movies, which I found rather confusing. One comes from Gwen's perspective, We find out Gwen's in a band. We knew that, but we get a little bit of Gwen's backstory, which I thought was in the first one, but I guess wasn't quite as explicit. She alludes to the fact that her Peter Parker was a guy that died in a villain fight with her, but I guess if you don't know that the Venom... No, because that is in there, that her lizard was her Peter Parker.
We see, like, little clips of it visually, but all she says is, like, you know, there was someone close to me and I lost them, or something very vague like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you do see, I'm pretty sure you see him, you see a Peter Parker-looking guy inject himself with lizard juice and turn into a big lizard man. Anyway, so Gwen's like, we did Spider-Verse 1, and then she goes to the Guggenheim because there's a big vulture man there, one of the vultures... not the one from Morbius, a different one, made of wood from the old Renaissance times. And he's Italian, and it turns out he's from a different dimension or something. And Gwen starts fighting him, and he's kind of good, so it's kind of tough. And then some other guys show up. This is where we get the introduction, the first appearance, well, not first appearance, because he was in the post-credit scene for the last one, of Miguel O'Hara, the Spider-Man from the future. Which I guess is also a different dimension in this. I don't know how that usually is handled in Marvel Comics, but he has always been Spider-Man 2099, which was just like he's from the 2099 year, and by 2099 in the 616 universe, that will be Spider-Man. But I don't know if that's the case in this. Either way, that guy, he shows up. Also, Jessica Drew on a motorcycle. That's her thing. Motorcycles also shows up. And they beat up this vulture guy. And he's pretty cool. I like this vulture guy. Ruins the Guggenheim, but who cares? And then they are like, we can't even let Gwen join the spider guys. And she's like, please. And her dad comes and he's like, I hate you, Spider-Man, so much. Or Spider-Woman, or whatever we call her. I guess we call her Spider-Woman, right? I think that word is used to describe Gwen. Yeah.
Even though in the credits she is Ghost Spider. Yeah,
Ghost Spider is usually what that character's called in the comics, because... there's already a Spider-Woman in the universes usually. In fact, there's way too many Spider-Women, and we have to stop. We have to figure out which one of those Spider-Woman.
Oh, so there could be as many Spider-Men as we want, but as soon as there's more than one Spider-Woman, it's a problem?
I'm just saying, in the 616 universe, there was one Spider-Man, and then there was the clones, which we all knew was a mistake. And Miles was part of a different thing, and when his Spider-Man died, he elevated to Spider-Man. By that point in the 616, there were like 4 Spider-Women going at the same time. The Spider-Women it's a very complicated mantle. But there is this one, this Jessica Drew, and then you got now Gwen Stacy counts as a Spider-Woman as well. So she goes with them, and then that's kind of all we get from her for a second. Back to Miles. He's doing bad at school because that's the rules of Spider-Man. Well, he's not going to class.
He's doing okay at school. He's still doing
That's true. He's
doing
okay at school. He's doing bad at the balancing Spider-Man and not Spider-Man part of being Spider-Man. He's like late to stuff, and his parents are like, "Where are you going, Miles?" And he's like, "Just out to do something else." And it's Spider-Man stuff. He's got to go to college because I guess is he a senior now? I guess
no.
He
said
it's a junior.
They have a line where they're like, he's, this is early to have this conversation, but he's very eager and doing well, so we want to have it.
That's right. Yeah. So he goes to his fancy school. So they're like, we got to get him ready for college. Where's he going to go to college? And he's like, I want to go far, far away, as far as you could possibly go from New York to New Jersey. And his parents are like, no, thank you. That's a big deal. At the same time, the Spot, a villain played by Jason Schwartzman, is trying to steal ATMs in a bodega, and Miles stops him, and then the Spot is like, got this whole deal. Spot's doing kind of what Joker was doing in the Lego Batman movie, of like, oh, I wanted to be more of a villain than you think I am, and it's a whole thing because he was secretly the guy, spoiler alert, he was the guy who he threw the bagel at in the first one, and he built the particle collider and got powers from it because he also got knocked into the particle collider or something during the first movie. So they have a big fight. It kind of goes fine. Miles is torn because he doesn't know where he wants to go, and his parents don't want him to go places, and it's that whole thing. At the same time, his dad is getting promoted to captain of the police force, which makes sense because I feel like being the policeman who works the best with Spider-Man is a really really valuable trait in the police of these universes. You know, if you're like the one
Yeah.
who's like, I could call him and he'll kill the lizard or whatever, you'd be like, yeah, you can be in charge. It's that, or you have to be really, really anti-Spider-Man, but it's one or the other. Spider-Man is late to his parents' thing. He wants to go get a cake, and that's a whole thing. He fights the armadillo very briefly, and his dad gives a speech that he's not there for. And everyone's like, you're so late to everything for being Spider-Man. Don't you have a secret you want to tell us, little kid? And he's like, I will tell you. Actually, no. And he gets grounded. After that, Gwen shows up. And Gwen is on some sort of mission from the hexagons. She goes through some hexagons and comes out into here and is like, I got to do something. But she also wants to hang out with Miles. And she's very cagey about something, but we're not quite sure what it is. And Miles is also grounded. But then Miles shows up on the rooftop with Gwen, and the parents are pretty cool with it. His parents are cool. I hope neither of them die in a big accident or something.
No, I don't think so.
Fingers crossed. Do you know what happens to them in the comics?
No, I have no idea.
It won't be a spoiler because I can't imagine it'll happen in this. The mom died, but then they decided she didn't, and she came back, and all the characters were kind of confused, but they just pretended it didn't happen. So, yeah. And Aaron came back, both of them. And all the characters every so often will be like, it's really weird because I'm pretty sure I was dead, but I'm not dead now. So I'm gonna go do crimes again. But yeah. And the mom gives little Miles a speech that's basically the kind of Captain America right before Captain America does a Civil War speech of like, here's your kind of defining mission statement and everything. Go do good Spider-Man stuff, but without saying that. And then Miles decides to track Gwen, like a real cool guy. He goes invisible and follows Gwen around. And it turns out Gwen's doing computer stuff and following the Spot. She's a follow Spot. It's very good because the Spot is doing all kinds of bad multiverse stuff, and he's trying to use particle accelerator, like energy and collecting it so that he could be a big multiversal threat that can actually get the respect of Spider-Man. And it also turns out that Miles is not supposed to be there, and it's a whole big deal, but it's still not clear why. Then they go to Moonbatten, India, New York dimension, and they meet the Spider-Man there, who is, I would say, like, his bit is he's kind of first act Spider-Man, where he hasn't really had any consequences yet. It's all just kind of crushing it. And they encounter the Spot again, and he fucks him up because now he's super strong and cool. So that's pretty good. This is about halfway through the movie. We're moving, and you're like, wait, so we haven't even met the Miguel O'Hara yet? That's got to be the end of the movie. But then there's got to be more. There's not. We also meet Hobie Brown, Spider-Punk universe. He's the one who looks like little collage man. He's pretty cool. Him and Gwen maybe have dated or something. She's definitely slept over at his place, but it seems like it's more because she's like a multiversal couch surfer than anything else, because her dad hates her. So they lose the Spot, and the universe gets destroyed. Luckily, the Spider-Man team also has like triangles they're able to use to like kind of save a multiverse for a little bit. So that universe isn't completely destroyed, but it's kind of messed up. Then they go to the fancy spider world, the hub world, with all the ceilings for them all to walk on at the same time, little MC Escher world. And there's lots of different things. There's a little jail for the villains to send them back to places they're supposed to be. There's a cafeteria. And then there's also Miguel O'Hara, who is the Spider-Man of 2099, who organized this whole thing. And his deal is he's a guy, I'm trying to remember all of this. He's a guy who invented multiverse hopping because he realized his dead daughter was alive in another universe without her dad. So he like took that guy's place, right?
Well, he found her with her dad and was like, oh, a universe where I'm happy. That's great. But then that universe's Miguel O'Hara gets killed.
Right.
And he's like, I see an opening. Right.
He did a Rick and Morty. He like did the like,
yes,
let's find the universe where the people I'm expected to be died. He goes there, causes a big incursion or whatever. And it's a big mess. Also, Peter B. Parker has a kid, and it's all he talks about now. He's back in a bathrobe. That's his new costume. That's not the traditional Spider-Man costume. Can't be sweatpants anymore. It's bathrobe. And they basically tell Miles that you're not supposed to be Spider-Man because the Spot messed it up. and that spider was supposed to bite somebody else, so you have to go to jail.
Well,
and also your dad's going to die.
That spider's from a different dimension, even. It's not just that it was supposed to bite someone else. It's that it's not even from Miles' dimension.
Correct. And we see some other Spider-Man hits where we see Ben Reilly for the first time, the ones from video games, some of the ones from shows. We get to watch the movies for a second, the live-action ones. It's weird.
We try to make up for the fact that we as a society never got our shit together enough for Donald Glover to be Miles by letting him show up as the Prowler.
We never got our shit together long enough for him to be Prowler either. Even
True.
That's one of those famous things that the Spider-Man movies kind of set up and then never paid off. Except it's now, I guess. And then Miles runs away because they're like, we're going to send you back to home. Or we're going to put you in jail long enough for your dad to die, and then we're going to send you home. And that should fix this. And he's not super psyched about that. So he runs away from all of them. And they don't catch him, and that's kind of it. He goes back to his universe and saves the day. He uses the little machine. But, oh, wait, the universe he went to is not the one he's from. It's the one the Spider's from. And it's the one where they never had a Spider-Man because they never got their Spider. And everywhere is, it seems like it's all Villains universe. And Miles in that universe is the Prowler and has braids.
Unfortunately, it's part of the Sony cinematic universe, that universe, which means there are no heroes that are not Spider-Man or Spider-Man adjacent people. So
that's true, yeah.
If you don't if you don't get a Spider-Man, like, that's just it. You're fucked.
So, you know what? I don't think this is the multiverse, because it can't be. It just doesn't make sense. There's no good argument for it. And
what
we
about
shouldn't
that?
talk about
What
it.
about
It
when
makes the
Morbius-
microphones mad.
What about when Morbius makes that hilarious joke about how he's Venom?
That's true. He does make that joke. And the cops in the trailer are like, there was Venom in San Francisco or something. But I don't think that made it into the movie, so it doesn't count. Yeah, I mean, so we have to assume then that Morbius did exist, which is great.
But Miles doesn't know about him because they make that funny joke.
Yeah. And nobody else knows about him either. This is the thing I'll never understand about these. I've talked about it a million times. They don't just sit down and tell each other who all their villains are. It doesn't seem like they're beyond that. It seems like they would be fine with you just going, oh, by the way, look out for Morbius. Because he would show up in their little hall of guys. But whatever. Because he's a good guy, he wouldn't actually go through it. Anyway.
I mean, Miles does run through the hallway of cardboard cutouts of all the villains.
That's true.
He does do that, yeah. And they do say that. They're like, hey, we got a Mysterio guy here and a Rhino guy here. And Miles isn't like, hold on, let me get my phone out. I got to start taking some of this down.
Yeah, right?
It seems like it's very important.
This shit's going to come up.
Yeah. It's like he knows he isn't really ever going to have to deal with those villains. Because they're already in the Kraven verse or the other one. But anyway, so then it turns out the villains are bad. His universe is bad. It's run by the Sinister Six Crime Syndicate, and they don't have a Spider-Man because it went through the thing. Miles is bad. He has braids. He's the Prowler, and then he's stuck to the bag, the punching bag, and then Gwen, who is now reconciled with her dad, who is no longer a cop. Or is it, well, he's no longer captain. He's still cop, or did he quit the whole thing?
No, he says he quits the force.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So he becomes good, and then he's also like, by the way, some weird guy that's all cardboard cutouts and stuff gave me this little package for you, and it's another multiverse thingy, and so all the heroes that are cool from the other ones, which includes Spider-Punk from this one, and Spider-Bite from this one, and of course I knew that because I remembered, and then Peter B. Parker from this one and the last one, Penny Parker from this one and the last one, and then Spider-Man Noir from the last one, and Spider-Ham from the last one. They all stand on a rooftop and get ready to do the next movie.
Yeah.
No post-credit scene.
Nope.
The end. Yeah. That's it.
Yeah.
Trying to think if there's anything else.
Pretty much the movie.
Yeah, there's like cameos and stuff. She beats up the Ben Reilly for a second, throws him into hell, into one of the hexagon dimensions.
Where he belongs.
Yeah, where he belongs. And then it's all, we'll find out the rest of it in Beyond the Spider-Verse in 20 years. We'll see.
Let's go.
So, Diggins as the winner, because he copied my stuff and added one thing. Yep. What did you think of Across the Spider-Verse?
What did I think of Across the Spider-Verse? Well, Across the Spider-Verse is a land of contrasts. By which I mean,
my God.
there are many different animation styles in it, representing all the different universes. And isn't that interesting?
Oh my gosh.
I don't know why this bit in particular is so wearisome to my colleagues, but I love it.
Not wearisome. I just, I like your contrast.
Eventually one of these is going to be a land of contrasts, 3 weeks, guys. Mark it on your calendar, bro. Land of contrasts.
Oh, boy. Well, you know what's not contrasting, though? My opinions about this movie, which rules.
Nice.
Yeah, no, I mean, the first Spider-Verse is an incredible achievement. It not only is, like, visually stunning and, like, super, not just well animated, but interestingly animated. Like, the things they did with frame rate and, like, having the different styles for the different universes and just, like, really making it pop in ways that, say, the Mario movie didn't, because it was just traditional CG animation.
Yeah.
And this movie takes that stuff and ratchets it up even further. We have, like, really crazy universe representations. Like, we have Spider-Punk, who, as Nando pointed out, is all, like, kind of zine-style cutouts from magazines and stuff. That looks awesome. The Renaissance Vulture is, like, Leonardo da Vinci's sketches in animation the whole time, which is incredible. The fight scenes and, like, all the action stuff is just, like, so fluid and dynamic, but also, like very easy to follow, like, keeps sight lines, like, makes it so you always know what's going on. The exact opposite of the Transformers movies. And then story-wise, I think they nailed it. I mean, yeah, it is kind of frustrating that it ends on such a big cliffhanger, but honestly, it didn't bother me as much as I normally hate part 1s and part 2s. Not just because the movie is good, so that helps a lot, but also, it does still feel like there is an arc to this movie that begins and ends. With both Gwen and Miles, we have Gwen, who feels kind of the weight of, like, the tragedy of a Spider-Man, or Spider-Woman, as the case may be, and, like, buys into the whole, like, canon thing, and, like, these things have to happen, but through Miles's example and the guilt she feels over betraying him over siding with Miguel, and then the reconciliation with her father, like, comes to this point of realizing that that's not true, that things don't have to be that way, and that her, and also just realizing the importance of her connection with Miles and with other Spider people. And Miles, meanwhile, Miles is more about just reaffirming the things that he believes, where it starts out with him being like, oh, these are the things I want to do, and, like, I want that to be, what my story is. I don't want other people to tell me what it is. And his mom gives him the whole speech about not letting people feel like he doesn't belong, and, like, that just comes through so much in the whole, like, Spider-Verse confrontation with Miguel and all the other ones, where he, like, really fights for those notions in ways that inspire a lot of the other Spider people. And, like, that's great. So, like, even though it ends on this big cliffhanger, I was like, I don't know. I still felt like a story was told here that I am happy with. So yeah, I loved it. It's an incredible movie. It's maybe my favorite movie this year so far. It's amazing. I could go on, but I figure I should let my co-hosts talk. So, Nando, what did you think of the movie?
So, I'm more or less in the same boat as you. I do have a slightly bigger problem with, like, the two-parteriness of it. Only because I think a lot of this movie hinges on this choice Miles is making about rejecting the canon and the consequences of that and stuff like that. And I don't think we could completely know what that is, if that is the right or wrong decision or whatever, until we see the resolution of what Miles does and what the bad guy does. And by bad guy, I mean antagonist. And I guess there's the bad guy too. But that will kind of color how I feel about it. But beyond that, I mean, yeah, the movie's really cool looking. It's the coolest looking movie. It's pretty close to having a full story, I think. But yeah, I liked it. I liked all the parts people liked about it. And I thought it was like I liked it visually. I liked it as a comedy. I think these are funny. I like the Spider-Verse movies and I like this, and it's very like, even though Lord and Miller don't direct them, it is very Lord and Miller, very Clone High, kind of like every opportunity for a joke is a joke, and most of them work, for me at least. I think the Spider-Man deep cuts were interesting, and I think most of the actors were good. Yeah, I think it's a movie that like I want to see again, but I'd like to watch it at home, where I can pause it and stuff. But it is like a cool looking movie, obviously, and I'm sure it took forever to make, and that's why I think the next one's gonna take forever to make. But yeah, I don't know. Did you guys know going into it that it was going to be a two-parter?
Yes. Yes.
Did you know it was going to end on a cliffhanger? How about that?
No, because I think there's a difference there.
As soon as you said, like, because you told us, because you saw it before either of us, that it's definitely like a part one kind of situation, I was like, oh, that means it's going to end probably like big cliffhanger type thing. So I was ready for that, which might influence how I don't feel too negatively about that, because I was expecting it. So you not expecting it as much, I can understand if you were a little more put off by that.
Yeah, it just makes the pacing weird, because you're like, where's this going? It's 2 hours. This has to be almost over, right? And then then you go like, oh, I see what we're doing. But yeah, without that, I do think it is more enjoyable. What about you, DJ? What did you think of Across the Spider-Verse?
I think I'm mostly in line with your guys' thoughts on this. I think this movie rules. And Nando, I'm also with you on like the two-parteriness of it. So for me, I know there's like a lot of people saying, "Oh, it's like Star Wars, like Empire, it's part 2 trilogy." But I feel like with this, it's like Empire didn't end like mid-fight with Vader, or like Luke captured or what, like whatever, right?
Well,
like
Han was captured.
Yeah, but he's not our main guy, right? Like that's a part of it, right? And like we see where we're going. But this is like our main guy is in a pickle, and to Nando's point, like we don't know like where this choice is going, and it's like I understand it's like, oh well, now it kind of maybe shifts to Gwen being the main character, and she as the hit squad is going to rescue Miles, but it just kind of felt like weird-ish. Like I would have liked some kind of resolution, and I think we get that with Gwen. And the argument would be like, Miles is not the main character of these movies. Gwen is the main character of these movies. And, like, then I might buy the argument that, like, this is a trilogy and Miles is the Han who's, like, been captured. But I don't think that's the case. I think Miles is our main character, and he's, like, the main hero's journey, what we see. So I just think where they ended it, like, if this just ends up being, like, a 5-hour movie, because that's more where I see it being, instead of, like part 2 of a trilogy, and more just feels like a 5-hour movie. Like I wonder if there was a better place to cut it than where we landed. But like I'm just saying that to like just put to the nuance. Like I love this movie so much. Like 9 out of 10, it's so good. My only gripe is with like where it ended. That's like my only problem. To speak like to some of the like the art of it all. I love the choices they made. I think they only took what was good about the first movie, made it better. I love in the early scene where Gwen reveals herself to be Spider-Woman to her dad, where it's just like he's there as just like a silhouette, and the whole background goes to just like this like single color on a canvas with like just like rain streaks like going down it. Like it's done really well with some of the choices to get some of the like the themes and just the emotion of what's going on in the scenes. I love what they did with Spider-Punk. That's like a huge win. And yeah, like this movie rules. I just wish they cut it differently in this like 5-hour movie, which ultimately isn't what I think this is. But yeah, those are my thoughts.
Yeah, I agree.
So, good.
Yeah, I don't know. It's tricky because we don't know what the rest of the movie is going to be, so we don't know if there's a better place to end it. I imagine this rescuing of Miles thing is going to be the rest of the second act. So yeah. I don't think there's a place where they could end it after that and not have it be like 2/3 of a movie and then 1/3 of a movie. Like, it feels like the midpoint of the movie, but at the same time, it's like, ugh, we're just getting going.
Yeah, and maybe there isn't a better place, right? Like, I don't know how this should have been structured. Like, maybe it's so simple as like, oh, call it a part 1 or whatever. Like, I don't know if that would make me feel differently, but it's hard to know. I guess we could revisit this in 7 years when the second one comes out. Well, it's like Beyond the Spider-Verse or something like that, whatever it is. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
So whenever that comes out, then we'll by the way, we mentioned like the next one is the last one, right?
That's what they say.
Yeah.
So
it's supposed to be a trilogy.
I'm glad that that's that, and that they're not going to bleed it to like 8 movies. That like they have a story to tell, and they're going to tell a story, and it'll be over. I think that's good. Like overall, that is a good thing that they're doing.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see whether Sony forces them to go back on that or not. I hope not.
Sure, right. That is, of course, always right. The possibility with this shit.
Yeah, it's a question of like. I also think it's just too hard to make these. To make 8 of them. Like, you could do it, but it would take, like, decades. Like, the first one came out in 2017. This one came out in 2023. Was it 2017 or 2018? I can't remember,
I think it was 2018 for the first one.
Okay. So, yeah, 5 years, and, yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot of time between them.
Yeah, for sure.
Which is fine, but, yeah, it's tricky. Yeah, I don't know. Where do we start with this one? What thoughts did you guys have?
I want to talk about... Okay.
Just to remind the viewers, we are still not doing a wheel because of the writer's strike.
That's right.
Can we talk about the villain? Because he shows up very early in the movie and is like a theme throughout. And I like the choice of what they did with the villain. If that's something we can talk about. Him. Okay. So the villain is the Spot. I'm sure, Nando, you were. Diggins, are you familiar with this villain?
No, I'd never heard of him.
Yeah, me too. Actually, Nando, were you familiar with this guy?
Yeah, he's like...
Okay.
He exists the same way they describe him in this movie, which is like kind of a jobber, usually. He could do this. He can like turn the spots into little portals into other places. And he's good. Like, his power is useful, and that's always usually acknowledged as like, he could like do some stuff. He's just kind of an idiot, but... Yeah, he's very... I'm trying to think. There's a couple of arcs I can think of where he is, like, called in by another villain for a job. As, like, can you help me steal this thing? So, yeah, it's handy for that.
Okay. And, so, so this is, like, normally his deal. What did you think of him in this movie?
He was good.
Okay.
He's about right. Like, I don't know exactly what his, like, origin is, but it's got to be something like this, right? It's got to be, like, particle collider... hit with particles, and then got spots.
Right.
Look it up online.
Do you like this kind of escalation from him, like, being a jobber into, like, being, like, a main guy? Like, I really like that. Cause, like, from the trailers and stuff, you're like, oh, it's a bit. Like, this guy doesn't really matter, you know.
Yeah, I was gonna say...
He's a fun little joke.
The trailers... I think do a really good job of letting you know he'll be in the movie, but not letting you know how important he'll be in the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because that comes off as like a nice little surprise where it's like, oh, this is like our guy. When, I guess, I forget what universe he does like the particle. I guess it's the Moonbatten. He gets to the particle accelerator and then becomes like the fucking like black, just like fucking
Adam.
Silhouette who's like, maybe, please. Who is like, I'm the evil master now. I'm like, oh shit, this is like real. Like, we're doing this. Mm-hmm. So I thought that was cool.
I also think in a movie that is very much like thriving on its meta plot, where it's like it's a movie about being Spider-Man and like the idea of Spider-Man. I thought it was both a good fit and fun that his thing was like, you think I'm just a jobber, so I'm gonna turn myself into your arch nemesis.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, and as a meta commentary on Miles kind of not having really villains that are his. There's very few Miles Morales villains that are not either takes on Spider-Man villains or like characters that existed Miles books that never really caught on. There's Prowler, and even he started as a Spider-Man villain, like a Peter Parker Spider-Man villain.
Yeah.
And you know, a couple of others, but for the most part, he fights Peter Parker villains. So like the idea that Spot's like, no, it's me, I'm your Joker. And Spider-Man's like, no, you're not. It's kind of like, well, he can be. It's an open spot. He's totally welcome to take it, especially since your Prowler is dead. You kind of need one, actually. So maybe it should be him.
And that's like a cool contrast to what Miles's point is, right? It's like, no, like I can chart my own path. I don't have to have these tropes happen to me. Like, I could do what I want to do. And that's what the Spot is, right? Like, that is exactly what he is positing forth as well, which I just think is awesome. I think it's so cool.
Yeah, I would agree.
Also, Jason Schwartzman is a good choice for a character who is kind of a nerdy little guy who sucks.
Yeah.
What else has he been in?
He was in that sketch in I Think You Should Leave.
Yeah, he's in I Think You Should Leave. He's in Scott Pilgrim. He's a bad guy in that. Obviously, all the Wes Anderson stuff, those kinds of movies. Okay. What else? What's he most famous for? Is he Freaks and Geeks?
I don't know.
I've never seen it, but he seems like he'd be in Freaks and Geeks.
I don't know. Is he old enough?
No, I guess he wasn't in
at this
it.
Point.
Yeah, but like you're like Martin Starr, James Franco. That's your cast. But no, he was not in it, as far as I know. But yeah, I would say he's mostly known for the Wes Anderson stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, that's true.
Including Asteroid City, the next one.
Yeah.
Can't wait.
Also, apparently he's Nick Cage's cousin.
Oh,
really?
Yeah. He's a Coppola.
Coppola.
Yeah, he's Hollywood royalty, I guess, then.
Isn't that interesting? Yeah, it's interesting with the Spot, too, because it's like we went through so many villains in the last one.
Yeah.
That it's like we've seen his Dr. Octopus, we've seen his Green Goblin, we've seen his Kingpin, we've seen his Lizard, or not his Lizard, his Scorpion, Tombstone. Who's the other one? There's one other villain that shows up in that one. I guess Prowler.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you go through like 6 Spider-Man villains in this one, in the Ultimate Universe. So it's like, there are some that are left, but it's like, we need to kind of invent a new main villain for him, because all the good main villains are now dead.
Well, it's cool. It's cool that it was a villain who was made in the first movie also, right? Like you made me, you threw a bagel at me, and you have no idea of my existence, right? So it also gives him this, like, he's so mad.
Also, he made really Miles. He's the one who brought the spider in from Earth 42 that fit Miles. Yeah. So that's another fun thing about it. Is like Miles doesn't know what he's talking about, but he is right. They are connected in that way.
Yeah, it's true.
Who's the other character from other movies besides Joker? Who's the other one that's kind of doing this? This, like, you don't even get it, but I'm your actual villain. I'm the real villain, and you're not taking me seriously enough. This is like a trope, right?
Yeah, this is definitely a thing that happens sometimes in comics. And
I'm trying
movies.
to think of who I'm relating it to in real life. I mean, honestly, everything gets run back to here, but it does kind of feel like Venture Brothers, where the hero doesn't want to acknowledge that the main villain is his main villain.
Right.
But they are, like, it just is, they're the best each of them can do. But yeah, I think it was interesting. I do think the one thing about the Spot that I think they did differently in this one, besides not giving him a face, he usually has well, not always, but a lot of the times he has a face of spots instead of just one big spot around his eyes. Is they made the spots, like, they gave him like a fade out instead of usually just being circles.
Like an ink blot kind of appearance, which works with the more like kind of comic style animation of this.
Yeah, it's interesting because they say, I think what's his name makes the joke. Miles makes the joke about him being a Dalmatian or something like that, and that is kind of what he looks like in the comics a lot of the time. Is he's just a Dalmatian man. So yeah, the Spot works there. I want to say there is a villain that is a Dalmatian, but I don't know who that is. Dalmatian's such a weird name.
The Dalmatian?
Where's he from?
I don't know. I was making that up.
Oh, okay. I think it's a guy, but I can't, I can't place it. Dalmatian. Crazy name. Apparently One Piece has a villain that is a Dalmatian.
Well, it's probably named after the region of Dalmatia.
Where's that?
It is on the western coast of the Balkans, across the Adriatic from Italy.
Oh. Yeah, that's probably what it is. Cool. Did you guys have a favorite Spider-Man in this?
Ooh. I really liked the way they did the Scarlet Spider.
Oh,
I thought it was so funny.
Yeah, he hasn't really come up too much.
You're talking about Ben Reilly, right?
Yeah.
That was so funny to me.
Was he on the hit squad to rescue Miles?
No, he's a bad guy.
No. Okay.
He's part of, like...
Oh, right.
Miguel's
he was on the other hit squad. Yeah,
he was on Miguel's squad. He's the one that Gwen takes out.
And sends to hell.
Yes.
It sends to hell, yeah, where he belongs.
Yeah, right. So, I might be my favorite, just because I feel like for me, I got the most laughs. So, yeah, that might be mine.
Yeah, he does have not my favorite joke in the movie, because there's jokes in the movie that I really, really liked, but maybe my favorite, like, bit of, like, clowning on some dumb comic thing of having him go to the alley and describe everything way too much, because that is how, like, some of the comics were written, where everybody has to say, like, I'm going to throw my shield, and then it will bounce off Red Skull, and then it will knock the thing off, and it's like, we're about to see that. We don't need to read it, but that is just how some of the comics were written. That's very good.
That's very
Look
true.
at the wall. It's a normal wall. Yeah. I do think the existence of Ben Reilly in this group is like, if I was Miles, and I guess he doesn't ever get Ben Reilly explained to him, I'd be like, okay, I'm sorry, he's allowed to be in this?
Yeah.
And I'm not? Like, he's a clone of a Spider-Man. He totally doesn't count.
Yeah, a friend of mine was pointing out, like, man, if they ever describe Ben Reilly's backstory, it's going to really throw the whole canon events thing into question.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, the other one is Spider-Woman. I'd be like...
That's true,
In the comics, she's total different thing. She is kind of like Spider-Man. I believe she was created, much like a lot of the female characters of the time, to keep a trademark going, where they were like, we got a Spider-Man, let's make a Spider-Woman so no one else can make that. But yeah, she's experimented on, I believe, by, at least in some versions of this, Hydra via the High Evolutionary, and just turned into a spider person. But yeah, she's not a web spider. She's a electricity kind of bioelectric spider, but also not bitten by a spider or anything like that.
I was explaining this to Michelle as we were going out. I'm like, yeah, like really cool character, but also like very much not Spider-Man. Like she's typically in the Avengers before Spider-Man, right?
Well, in the modern era, because like Nando said, she was made mostly to keep a trademark, I think. So she was made in the 70s, and then like no one used her for 30 years, and then in like the mid 2000s or late 2000s, I think Brian Michael Bendis was like, let's use Spider-Woman. Let's just use some Spider-Woman, huh? And now she's kind of back in the comics since then.
I want to say even that's what's her name was supposed to be. Jessica Jones was created like, oh man, I don't know the story about this. I don't know where they all come up in the ages. But Brian Michael Bendis was like, I want to do a Spider-Woman book where she's a detective, and someone was like, you can't. And he was like, all right, fine. Instead of Jessica Drew, I'll make Jessica Jones. And then later they were like, you can use Jessica Drew again. He's like, great. And then he just started writing those books. It's why the characters are so similar in this modern era. But
interesting.
Yeah, her backstory is pretty wonky or like funky when you really get into it. But I think the thing about her that's interesting, I mean, not that's interesting, but the thing about her that makes her so interesting in this group is a lot of the time Spider-Man and the Spider people will do a thing, and this has changed a lot now, but she's like, I'm not part of this. I'm my own guy. But I mean, she was in one of the Spider-Verse comics. I don't know if it's the most recent one, but she definitely was in a Spider-Verse team-up story, so I guess she's kind of accepted it. But yeah, it's interesting to me. And this character, obviously, like, she's not, she's usually white, but also the whole pregnancy thing was like kind of an
woke.
Well,
the
we'll
woke
get
libs
to it.
Are at it again.
We'll get to it. But yeah, like the pregnancy thing was like a kind of arc that people are familiar with because it was on covers and it became like a thing. So like, while I would say it's like one of the defining traits of her character, it definitely isn't like, if you're making a Spider-Woman, that's definitely got to be in there.
Yeah.
So
I get that.
It's interesting. A lot of the stuff about her was interesting. I also just think as a character, her being, I don't know, I guess her being part of the, like, I could understand Ben being part of the villain team because he's such a loser. Anyone that will ask him to join, he will join their team. But with her, she's such a rebel that I'm like, I don't know. But yeah, Motorcycle was cool.
I like that.
Speaking of being a rebel, since we're technically on the favorite Spider-Man question still, I really liked Spider-Punk. Here was my arc with Spider-Punk. I had seen on Twitter people being like, oh man, Spider-Punk's so cool. And so I get to him in the movie and I'm like, this guy's fine. I mean, he looks cool, but like whatever, because sometimes I can't help myself. But be contrary. But then, like when everything started going down where it became clear that this was all like a thing Miguel had set up to trap Miles and like force him to go through the canon events and whatnot. And then Spider-Punk is like tacitly like teaching him how to break out of the cage and then piecing out, and then later like sending the watch and helping them. I was like, oh, he's actually a punk. Like he's actually totally against all this Spider-Verse like hierarchy stuff and is actually just trying to help the hero. Like once it became clear to me that he really was like anarchist punk and not just like the aesthetic, I was like, actually this guy owns.
Yeah, I was worried when he started being cool. He was described by characters as cool, and then he showed up and he did things that made Miles not like him. And then in the background, he was stealing little computer parts. I was like, oh no, is he the villain of this secretly? That sucks. Like, don't do that. And then he wasn't, and that's nice. Because he's cool.
Yeah, if they'd stuck with the whole like Miles is jealous of him thing the whole time, I would have hated it. But they didn't, and instead I thought it was great.
Yeah. I mean those are pretty much all the new ones. It's really just those three. I mean, there's the India one. I thought Spider-Man India was fine. I have super strong feelings about him.
He didn't really exist much beyond the joke of like he's the one who has everything together and his life is perfect, and Miles is like, this sucks.
Yeah.
Yeah. But then Miles does him a solid, which is cool.
Yeah, well, of course.
Yeah.
Miles is a good guy. He's not going to let this guy's girlfriend's dad die just because.
Although apparently that's what he should have done.
Yeah, nobody told him that it was the rules. He did just that universe does have a big mess in it now. But I feel like
I think it's deliberately ambiguous if that's because Miles saved Inspector Singh or if it's because of what the Spot did.
Right. Yeah, I think like this is why the part 1, part 2 of this movie are really going to matter. The morality of this whole conflict does seem kind of like, I'm like, if this was like you gotta let your dad die, otherwise you can't be Spider-Man, because that's just, like the Green Goblin's holding them both over a big ravine. It's like, okay, that is a choice that he has to make and whatever. But this, it feels like a choice where it's like, I think you may have kind of misinterpreted some of this, sir. Mm-hmm. That's not why the thing happened. And you had a really strong reaction to a mistake you made and decided to destroy everything else because of it. But, like, I don't think that needs to be the main, rule going forward forever. And I really need to see how that gets resolved.
Yeah, but I really like that though as like a thing in the movie where it's like there is a very human impulse to think of the tragedies that happen to us as being formative and important to who we are in ways where like they needed to happen for us to turn out the way we did.
Oh,
and,
sure.
Like that's like a thing that is helpful to many people to like help them process and like come to terms with bad things that happen to them. But at the same time, like, it's worth questioning how much that's true. How much, does someone need to suffer to be a good Spider-Man or, like, to be a good person? Like, I don't know. I really like that as, like, an emotional thing the movie is, like, mining and exploring without, like, being super heavy-handed about it.
Especially because that is such a big part of Spider-Man discourse these days of, like, the first, Homecoming came out and a lot of people were like, Spider-Man isn't suffering enough. There's not Uncle Ben, this isn't a real Spider-Man movie. Spider-Man needs to have a parent die in front of him, and he needs to cry a bunch. And like at the end of Spider-Man 1, Spider-Man like walks away from Mary Jane at the grave, and he's like, I can't have what I want because I have to be Spider-Man. And instead, there's really no other character that works exactly that way besides kind of Batman. Even with Batman now, they've kind of written it so it's like, no, I should be happy a little bit. Whereas in the comics currently, Spider-Man is going through an arc that is really weird and like making some pretty terrible choices to be like, I mean, we'll see how they all play out long term, but they're not great.
It's it's wild what happens to a man's brain when he gets cucked by the world's least likable person.
The world's least likable person? Who is? Have you heard the development about Paul?
I don't know if I've heard the latest.
Yeah, there's more than just him being a person, and it's like all the things that you were like, I hope this is going somewhere. It is quite not I guess it's not going somewhere, but it is doing. I don't know. It just I understand people that don't like it anyway. this idea that Spider-Man has to perpetually suffer. He can never be married. He can never have a kid. Right? That's why the Ben Reilly thing happened, was because they wanted to give Spider-Man a kid and like give him kind of a happy life. And they were like, well, we obviously can't have that guy be Spider-Man anymore. So we should have a new guy be Spider-Man who is young and scrappy and like everybody else does kind of get that. Like other characters, you know, like Barry Allen get to have lives where things do eventually get better. But there's this weird kind of Arrested Development Spider-Man is caught in comic-wise. So I think it's interesting that they bring him into that. Like they use him to interrogate that idea.
Yeah, the movie's good, guys.
And we'll see.
It rules. It absolutely rules.
Yeah.
And you know what sucks? Mario had a better opening weekend. It's not fair.
Well, it did have a very good... Like, Mario had the best opening weekend for an animated movie ever. This had a very good opening weekend.
Right, but Mario had a better opening weekend. That's what I'm saying. It's not fair.
Right. I'm saying it's not as bad as, like, Mario did super great and Spider-Verse bombed. It's like, Mario did super great and Spider-Verse did really good. I'm like, I can live with that.
Sure.
Yeah, it did better than Dungeons and Dragons, which is the low bar for, like... Man, I wish that movie did better than it did. So
yeah, I get it.
I think it made enough money. I also think it seems relatively inexpensive. I've heard it cost $100 million to make, which compared to some of the other big blockbuster movies that have come out this year, you're like, I mean, that's less than Dungeons and Dragons. I believe Dungeons and Dragons was like 120, 130. So that's a good sign. And I think Sony needs these. Otherwise,
yes,
everyone would hate them because Morbius and Kraven and all that stuff. So this is a good thing.
Yeah, it's true. So what was the Oscar? This or fucking Mario?
I know, right? Fucking Puss in Boots just cannot catch a break.
Yeah.
Well, Puss in Boots
DreamWorks can't get a win.
Came out last year, technically, so it's already over.
But, oh yeah, that's right. What's the one that can't catch a break then? There's a couple this year that look pretty sick. I mean, Elemental can't catch a break, but that's...
Wow. But it was Elemental gonna... Are we gonna watch Elemental and be like, this deserves to win the Oscar over Spider-Verse?
No.
I think
that's where it's can't catch a break, I think.
I think the question is, are we going to watch Elemental?
Yeah, that's a great question.
I mean, I'm going to watch Elemental. It's a question of whether we do it for the podcast.
Yes.
Yeah, and if I watch it in theaters versus if I watch it at home.
That's a big one.
There's a Netflix animated movie this year that looks pretty sick. And then there's that one Kraken movie that they keep showing the whole movie for in the trailer. I don't know if you guys have seen this.
Awful.
It
that movie looks terrible. No, it looks bad.
I mean, it's probably a fine kids movie.
Yeah.
It's just like, I don't know. I watch this and my first thought is always like, does everything have to be superheroes? Everything?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, that and also like they've changed it. They kind of fixed it in the second trailer, but the first trailer really was the entire movie, including what is definitely the big twist and her getting all her powers and all that stuff. And it's just like, man, is this what we're doing with this? Like, I definitely don't need to see it anymore. I was gonna say the hotness is apparently a movie called Nimona, which is based off a somewhat popular graphic novel. And it comes out in the end of this month, so June. I've heard pretty good things about it. So, but yeah, I mean, Spider-Verse is going to get it, so.
Oh, that's by N.D. Stevenson.
That's right.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's a cool looking. I don't know if you've seen the trailer. It came out the other day, but it looks pretty. It looks pretty cool. We'll see if the movie is good. It might be bad. What else was interesting about this movie? What did you think of Miguel O'Hara? We haven't really talked about him.
I like him in general. I think his character is good at the beginning. You know, he has to go into this full, it's like, I gotta kill Miles, right? Like it has to be. But he's done this whole, I have the burden of the entire multiverse on my shoulders, which is the new thing in a movie. It's, you got your Kang, you're whoever you are, you got the whole multiverse is on your shoulders.
You got another certain guy in a couple of weeks, for sure.
Yeah.
Yep. It's just,
there we go.
You gotta be doing a thing that might destroy the whole multiverse.
Yeah.
It's pretty weird that's the rules now.
But the villain's not the one doing, well, you know, he might be misguided, but he's trying to protect the multiverse.
Right.
Well,
yeah.
I wouldn't call Miguel O'Hara the villain of this movie. I would call him I guess it would be the anti-villain. He's an antagonistic force who you're like, he has like, I can see his perspective. He has a point. He's trying to do a good thing.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I would call him I don't know about villain. He's definitely an antagonist. He might be a villain. Like,
I mean, he's definitely an antagonist, like 100%.
Like, what separates him from, you know, a Killmonger or something like that, who is also a villain who thinks he's doing the right thing based on kind of a personal event. Like,
I guess the distinction I'm drawing here is in the third movie, I fully expect him to be brought around by the end.
Right, yeah, that's fair.
Also, like, I don't know, in a very specific Killmonger example, he wanted to murder a lot of people. It's like Miguel is like, he doesn't even want to kill Miles. He just wants him to stop doing the thing he's doing.
Yeah, but he does want to murder a lot of Captain Stacy's by omission.
Well, I was going to say, that depends on your definition of murder. Like, it's more that he knows it's going to happen and thinks it shouldn't be prevented.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's, by the way, so Miles comes in and goes like, I didn't want to let my Captain Stacy die or my dad die or whatever. It's weird because, like, the whole thing is like, they're all like, you have to have a sacrifice, a personal sacrifice close to you to be Spider-Man. And I don't understand why Miles isn't like, no, I did. You guys didn't see it, but I did do that earlier.
I think they're drawing specific parallels where it's like, this is the Captain Stacy death they're talking about. Like,
right.
Yeah.
Uncle Aaron was his Uncle Ben death. So he had that one. And now he needs to have the Captain Stacy death. I think that's why that doesn't count.
But, like, does he, though? I don't know. I guess it's kind of important for Spider-Man. But it does feel like I would be a little bit like, well, do I also have to have a Gwen Stacy death? Do I have to have every single one of these? How many deaths? You tell me how many deaths, and we could kill all those guys. But, like, it just seems kind of arbitrary where it's like, you definitely need an Uncle Ben. You have to get turned into Spider-Man in the early days of, like, the whole thing. But the Gwen Stacy death, especially as someone who, like, especially seeing the whole arc of Gwen Stacy and Gwen Stacy coming back in these, it's like, the Gwen Stacy death does kind of feel like a mistake. Not a mistake, but like a thing where, like with Uncle Ben, the comics do understand we can't bring him back. And they almost understood this with Green Goblin, but then they didn't. But, like, killing a villain, I also think is like, we can't do that. But with Gwen Stacy, it's like, they killed her. I can't remember why, but it was something like, it wasn't that she was too popular, but it feels like a back of house thing where it was like, we want Spider-Man to have a different girlfriend or something like that. So it makes her sacrifice a little bit less like, this is a formative event versus just this is something that happened.
But then it has kind of become this, like, big mythologized Spider-Man thing over time, right? Like, that is the thing. I mean, yeah, like, Spider-Gwen exists and everything, but they have never undone Gwen Stacy's death, I don't believe.
Well, I mean, wasn't that what the original Clone Saga was?
So
that clone also died, but I don't think...
She was like a clone, or like it happened before she died, or I don't know what the hell was going on with the Clone Saga. Don't ask me to explain the Clone Saga.
It's so tricky. I can't remember. I know that you're right, though. There is no... It wasn't like, even if they did clone Gwen Stacy, I think she did die in the cloning or something. Because Norman Osborn wanted her or something.
Yeah, and she had kids with Norman Osborn, but that was just the clone and the kids.
Yeah.
I don't know. The Clone Saga's dumb. This is why Ben Reilly's fun to dunk on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's funny because, like, you have Ben Reilly and Miguel O'Hara, who are not both the same character, but they are characters of the same age, and they have the same kind of, like, I don't know, like...
broodiness, 90s broodiness.
Yes, attached to them, except Miguel O'Hara gets to do it completely, like, straight in this movie. I mean, they do joke that he's broody and stuff, but, like, it's not played for laughs when he does it. Yet you have Ben Reilly in the corner doing pretty much the same shtick, and just it's everybody's like, what a fucking loser that guy is. And that really sucks for him, but...
Yeah. I did like Miguel O'Hara as, like, the cranky, like, no nonsense Spider-Man. Though in this movie, I think that worked really well for him being the one who's insistent on the canon.
Right. Yeah.
Also, Oscar Isaac did a good job.
He is good.
Yes, did a very good job.
Remember when he almost ate the vulture?
Yeah, what was that?
Yeah.
I don't know. That's one of the things that people have used to kind of grab onto. He's not actually a good guy. This is a secret villain or something. Don't love that, but I could see it happening. People have thought maybe he's an inheritor, the villains of the original Spider-Verse comic, another comic that I don't really care for. But like as a concept, it's created fun things. But this idea that there's a bunch of multi-dimensional fancy vampires who want to eat every Spider-Man because it's good for them to do, like is not very good. And no one ever talks about them anymore. But like the idea that they've either rolled that kind of mentality, rolled the effect of that existing into Miguel O'Hara, I think is good. The idea that Miguel O'Hara is secretly an inheritor whose end game is to trap and eat all of the Spider-Men is bad. And I hope they don't do that. But I've seen fan theories online. I've also seen fan theories that he's Kang, which I think is awful, but pretty funny.
Why not? Just let them all be Kang. Whether everyone's Kang, Spider-Ham is Kang.
Well, we reveal him to be Kang, and then in the MCU, Oscar Isaac gets to be Kang from now on.
Exactly, and he's got the ancient Egyptian connection, so you could even do Pharaoh Kang from like the Fantastic Four comics, and just be like, that's a descendant of, that's what that's why this guy is Moon Knight, is because he's his great grandson. Yeah, exactly. Listen, they're running out of options and running out of time to stall. Soon they'll have to tell us what they're doing with this Kang thing. So I'm curious.
I think the problem with that strategy would be that Oscar Isaac would never agree to be Kang.
Yeah.
I think he's done with being big parts of big franchises after Star Wars.
Yeah. And hopefully after X-Men. That because that character is so Kang-ish. Although, I don't know, he did Moon Knight, so maybe you can convince him to do stuff. The dump truck.
I feel like you can convince him to do like small parts, or like in this movie where it's like it's a big part, but it's just like this one kind of idiosyncratic movie and not like the whole universe.
Mm-hmm.
I think you can convince him to do that stuff. I don't know that you could convince him to be like the new Thanos.
Yeah. But what was I gonna say? But can you imagine being one of those Spider-Men? So Miles comes in, he's like, I want to do both. I want to save my dad and do Spider-Man shit. And then, I'm assuming, by the end of this next movie, he is successful. I don't think they can go back on that. I don't think he can have to let his dad die, and learn the lesson exactly the way Miguel does it. And then be one of those other Spider-Men who did let that happen because Miguel told them to or whatever, and was like, wait a second, I could have rebelled? And instead I just let all this shit go? Like, I would be so mad.
Yeah, I think it's going to be not great for all the other Spider-Men when they find that out.
It's pretty funny.
I guess it depends, though, like when in their journey they were recruited.
Right.
Because if I were Miguel, I would probably try to be careful to only recruit Spider-Men who have already had all the events happen.
I guess for me, I'd be mad at Miguel because it's like, wait a second, you could have stopped all this and you just chose not to because of some dumb rule. Like, it's... With every other Spider-Man, yeah, you are like, well, they couldn't have done anything. But with Miguel, it's like, no, he is just sitting there going, all right, good. Your Uncle Ben is about to die. Good. It is weird because it's kind of like, does Spider-Man need to have an Uncle Ben die and stuff? Really was like the exact argument everybody had in 2016 when Homecoming came out. But yeah, that guy's the bad guy now, so I guess they were wrong.
Well, hey, listen. Homecoming is still a bad movie, but just for different reasons.
No. It's a good movie. It's got the Vulture in it, like this one.
That's true. They do both have the Vulture.
He's pretty good. What is it with the Vulture? Is there a law somewhere on the books that says you can't just fight the Vulture in the streets?
You're damn right.
It's got to be in a building or on a plane or on a boat. But it'd be pretty cool to have a fight with the Vulture where you're just swinging through Manhattan.
But if he was just out on the streets, then he could just fly away. He'd just be like, I'm done. Peace.
Exactly. That's why it would be such a cool fight. You'd have to keep catching him. He should be able to do that on a boat, too, but he doesn't. He doesn't want to.
Don't worry.
He loves this boat so much. Yeah, he's pretty cool.
They say the two best days of being a boat owner are the day you buy it and the day you fight Spider-Man on it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I was going to say, the Vulture had the craziest line in the movie for me. But not he had the craziest line, but the craziest line was said about the Vulture when, Miguel O'Hara described the Vulture's infinite bombs as having access to hammer space. So that was a pretty wild, like, called out, or, like, called out.
I mean, we already had hammer space canonized in the first one with Spider-Ham.
And that's what they reference in this movie. They're like, Spider-Ham uses hammer space.
But they didn't say it in that movie, right? They didn't say, I have hammer space.
They said it in this one.
Yeah. So it's crazy that it's a little bit crazy to me that is a word the characters in this universe know. Like they know words like canon and use that to describe the things. Although I think that is a little bit more like...
Canon actually originally comes from, like, the Catholic Church. And, like, religious canon. These are the scriptures and books that are considered real and holy. So, like, that word has an existence and definition outside of comic books that would also make sense if they started using it that way.
Right. Yeah. Speaking of that, which Spider-Man's the worst one in this movie?
Well, what do you mean by worst?
Yeah.
Dumbest or, like, biggest chump?
Dumbest Spider-Man.
Oh, that's tough. Like,
I mean, maybe Peter Parked Car?
That is a pretty big chump.
Ooh, really good one. Really good one.
I didn't know that's apparently a thing. I know the Spider Buggy.
The Spider Buggy, yeah.
They've also made it a guy.
Oh, I didn't know
the
that.
Spider-Verse comics, yeah.
I remember Spider-Man doing donuts outside of J. Jonah James's window.
Yeah. And, like, I like the Spider Buggy because from what I remember, it is an artifact of the olden action figure days where everybody got a car no matter how much it made sense. Flash got a car, Spider-Man got a car, and
was it also like in a Fruit Pies ad?
Yeah, that sounds right. I kind of remember that.
Which is also like a thing people love to make fun of now.
Yeah. I guess I like the spider car when other characters are driving it. It's pretty fun when someone's like, "Oh shit, I can use this," and then they like drive up a wall. And the spider car. It's only done when Spider-Man's driving it, but yeah, that part was pretty cool. Yeah, I don't know if it's the worst Spider-Man for me. I do think the only Spider-Man that I looked at and went, that doesn't look right, is cartoon Spider-Man from the Sensational Spider-Man. I think that looked weird. I liked the
Is that what that
cameo of him.
was?
Yeah.
Okay, because Michelle was asking if that was from like one of the, like maybe like a video game, and I'm like, no, I think that's from like an old cartoon.
Well, old being like 2000s, 2010s.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
The X-Men Evolution era. And it's a great cartoon, but I just think for some reason him there looked weird. I guess because like Penny is also kind of a different animation style, but they still do kind of blend that in better. With him, it did look like if you looked at him from the side, he would be a line.
Right.
You know,
right.
like he had no dimensions. And it's like a lot of these shouldn't have any dimensions, sir. They're all from comic books, but...
Yeah.
Oh, man. I saw someone point out the least sensical Spider-Man in the movie is that Doppelganger appears to be part of Miguel's team. And it's like, how'd you pull that one off, Miguel?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is a pretty... Yeah, it does seem like Miguel's team is actually just characters that shouldn't work with Miguel, but have been rewritten to technically have been able to. But yeah, between Spider-Woman, Ben Reilly, Doppelganger, it's like none of these are like usually friends of a spider guy. They're typically loners.
But like Ben Reilly and Jessica Drew, you're like, I can see how he could convince them. Doppelganger's whole thing is that he's just like an evil guy who doesn't have a brain.
Yeah. Yeah, that is funny. Jesus, like, is the multiverse like more or less secured by the spider people?
What do you mean?
Like in Marvel Comics, in the way that they've done it in the MCU at least, there is the TVA, which are the cops that come to your dimension and go, that guy's not supposed to be there, fix it. They are kind of a clandestine force that uses memory wipes and stuff. They're the Men in Black. But the Spider-Man are Spider-Man. And also, I assume unbeknownst to everyone else in their universe, including the Avengers and whatever, they're doing this multiverse cop stuff. But like, I guess it's weird that you have in these other universes, they're somewhat normal, I would assume, but also Spider-Man is doing Men in Black stuff, and he knows about the multiverse, and it's just like kind of built into every universe except for the one Miles is in.
I don't know. I mean, I would assume that not every Spider-Man works with them. Like, a lot of them do, but I assume there's lots of other Spider-Men who don't.
Well, assuming there's infinite
Yeah.
multiverses in Spider-Man, then yeah, right. Is it like the fucking Rick and Morty? It's like, no, I'm not joining a spider club. I don't want to.
Well,
also, this always begs the question: if they're here, who's doing Spider-Man?
right. That too. Well, it's weird too because, like you said, this guy is a time Spider-Man, right? Like he is in the future. So can he send them back to the time that they left from in their universe if he wants to?
Oh, so it's like no worries.
Yeah, like he doesn't with Gwen, or like Gwen comes back to an amount of time that has passed that seems like it is in sync with how long she's been doing it. But yeah, like when Jessica Drew goes back to her universe, is everybody like, wow, you weren't that pregnant a second ago?
I assume that it's not time travel happening. Like, whatever time passes in whatever dimension you're in, that time is also passing in the other dimension. And it's just that some dimensions are, like, further behind or ahead in, like, the years as we know them. Like,
yeah, that makes sense.
That one Vulture timeline just happens to be in the Renaissance at the same quote-unquote time that, like, Miles is in the present day.
Yeah.
Also, maybe if you come from a universe that has like a lot of Avengers, it's like I don't need to be here. Like I can do Spider-Man.
Yeah, in those other universes that aren't owned by Sony, there's Daredevil, there's Luke Cage, Jessica Jones, there's Iron Fist. There's all sorts of New York vigilantes keeping the streets clean. You know,
they don't need.
They could do without a Spider-Man for a couple weeks.
And there's all the other Spider characters that aren't Spider-Man, so they wouldn't be in this. But like, there's no Silk. There's no, like, do they all have a Ben Reilly kicking around who they can call? Like, did they get cloned too? I would assume they've been cloned, so, yeah, they could just have one of them do it.
Or how about, like, Madam Web? She should be, like, the mastermind behind all of this.
I mean, listen, the way that this is going to connect further, because, like, I imagine what our heroes are going to have to do. Let's talk this through. What do you think the next movie is? And, like, what are their goals besides rescue Miles?
Well, so that's the question. Is it a 2-hour-long rescue Miles? Well, no, it'll be like rescue Miles. So, when does the rescue happen? Minute 5 or minute, like, 75?
I'm going to say minute 30.
Minute 30. All right. Like, do they take down the Spot and there's a bigger bad that's, like, really controlling all of this? Is there a Kang? Like, are they going to find out?
I think Spot is going to be the bad guy at the end.
So they take him down and then they're good. Like, that's the climax, is taking down Spot. All of the spider peoples. Does Spot get other versions of him?
Right.
Are there other Spots he can recruit?
Can he recruit all the villains to keep them busy or something while he does his thing?
Is it like the end of Endgame, where it's like, we're just going Spider-Man, wall of Spider-Man versus wall of everyone else?
Yeah, I could see that.
So.
It seems like we're going to get that out of our system in the Miles world, I would imagine, because the radio says, like, there's a Sinister Six crime syndicate. I bet we'll see, like, evil crime versions of the Green Goblin. Or will the crime versions be crime versions of, like, Daredevil and stuff?
Okay, yeah.
I don't know. But I guess since he's still the Prowler, it'll be Green Goblin or whatever. But yeah, I imagine they'll do that. I guess my question is, what do they do to stop the Spot? Because, like, my question is, do they have to go to other universes and get other guys, like a Madam Web or someone like that?
Oh, like not spider people, like other
spider people. Because, like, in the comics, the one that I'm thinking about is Spider-Man from Universe 1. The Spider-Man who is also merged with the cosmic force and is, like, god of the world. Like,
okay.
They could hypothetically, if they know where the other Spider-Men are, go get the Spider-Man that would be helpful in fighting the Spot. They could get a Spider-Man that's the Sorcerer Supreme in one of his universes.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Like, do they go on a shopping spree of the other ones?
That would be good.
And do they have to run into Madam Web if they do that?
Yeah. It'd be good to get, like, spider people who were approached by Spider-Man trying out Miguel, and we're like, fuck off. Like, that would be a fun, like, what if we got the Sorcerer Supreme? And Miguel's like, we can't. He fucking hates me so much. Like, that would be kind of fun.
Yeah.
I do like that Miguel called Tom Holland a little nerd.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was good.
And used the proper universe designation for the Marvel Cinematic Universe also.
Apparently. Yeah, I think that's interesting. I like that it's this big argument that everybody that doesn't read about this stuff has no idea is happening in the background of all these movies.
Yeah. I will freely admit, as someone who has feelings about this argument, that it's the dumbest thing you could possibly argue about.
Yeah.
But yet you continue to.
And it's tough. Because, like, they're like, this is the 616 one, and you're like, well, in the comic, that's the 616 one, it's the comics. And it's like, well, not in this universe then, because in this universe, the 616 one is this other thing. That's not the comics, is it? Maybe it is. I don't know. It can't ever make sense unless none of them are 616.
Right.
But also, speaking of 616, Peter Parker in this has the little baby that the comics keep writing away. So that's fun.
Yeah, Mayday.
You guys.
Why does he bring her for the final, the recruit? Like, why does he bring her? Just leave her home. May's home. What are you doing?
Yeah.
Or Mary Jane's home.
I was going to say, who's home?
Mary Jane's home. What are you doing?
I mean, he's endangering his child, but in a way that the internet thinks is okay.
Yeah, it's in a way that's fun and
in a
cool.
way that's fun and cool. I mean, I guess she's a spider person, so it's like she can get hit with a big giant truck and it's fine.
Yeah, no worries.
Yeah, she does have spider powers, so it's not like it's just a regular baby.
Although in the comics, Jessica Drew's kid also has powers. So that fetus should also be able to get hit by a truck and be fine. Depending on if it has developed the spider powers yet.
Is she pregnant still in the later part of the movie after that beginning?
Yeah. I'm pretty sure she's pregnant the whole time.
Because it's like 4 months after Gwen gets recruited, right? And she was already showing a lot. So logically, shouldn't that baby have been born?
Yeah.
Maybe they have different gestation times as spider people, maybe.
This is why I think Miguel's universe could be a 0-time zone. Although it's like his universe is just taking place in a building in his universe. Like you can just leave that and go get some McDonald's. From universe, whatever.
A whole Nueva York out there.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know why she's still pregnant. Cause you're right. She's pretty pregnant in the first scene.
I guess we'll never know. It's a mystery for the ages.
But, yeah.
Yeah, the movie's pretty good, guys.
I like it a lot. Yeah,
what else is fun about the movie? Are there other things? I like that the armadillo is in it. That was fun. He's one of
3 seconds.
Well, yeah, and I was trying to figure this out. What are Miles' villains? And like he did fight the armadillo once, so it's like good. He's in there. But yeah, really besides the Prowler and a couple characters that were introduced in his books, it's like nobody. Which has always been my biggest problem with Miles, but one of the difficult things about Miles comics is...
It's one of the main reasons why you've always said Miles is not a real Spider-Man. He doesn't deserve to have the mantle. He's a pretender and a fake.
That's right. Kid Arachnid or something. That is a proper name for him. A Spin was another one that everyone tried. Yeah, I think the character of Miles is fine. I do think like the pitch for Miles being in the 616 universe, it never quite, like they still have not made a story that's not about Aaron that I'm aware of. That I think is like good. I mean, he's good on the Champions. He's good with the other kids. I mean, maybe not with fucking one specific one that keeps dying in his arms. But besides that, yeah, it's crazy that she did this already. By the way, for people that don't know, Miss Marvel died in a Miles comic as well.
Really?
Yeah, maybe Miguel should start enforcing that canon rule on the rest of them. By the way, all of your Miss Marvels are quite alive, and we are going to have to do something about that. Everybody go to your universe and kill her. But we don't have a good reason to. There is no good reason. We're just doing it. So, fuck you. She dies.
I think the pitch for Miles being in 616 is that the ultimate universe was being shut down, but everyone liked Miles, so we gotta do something.
Pretty much, yeah.
Big facts.
And I do think it is the reason why he's the one legacy character who I'm like, well, you can still call him Spider-Man, though. All the rest of them, I'm like, you should maybe give this one their own name or whatever. But with this, it's like, no, he is Spider-Man in his universe. After his Spider-Man died, he did it the exact way you're supposed to. And he just shows up here. Like, I do think they should come up with a new name to call him. Like in the video game, where they're just yelling Miles over comms. Yeah, it's like, this is why we have different names. But whatever, maybe no one else can hear them.
Is one of them going to die in the new video game? Feels like it, right?
I was thinking about that. Yeah, I think they could do it. Kill old Spider-Man. Have him sacrifice himself.
Yeah.
And then you can introduce Gwen in the next one if you want to still make it a two-player game.
Give her a whole awesome power set to play with, yeah. But I think he was in this one, too. They put The video game.
They did put video game Spider-Man in
Who's
this.
the voice actor for him?
Yuri Lowenthal.
Yeah, they put him in.
And he was like near the video game villains that are Tetris, which I assume is like from some really old Spider-Man game, I guess.
Sure.
Yeah, we got a couple villains in there. We got the Mysterio, which is good, and Mysterio, which is a lady Mysterio. Pretty woke. We got Typeface, which is a thing. It's pretty good. And I feel like there was another one. Oh, there was an exciting Kraven and a boring Rhino. A Rhino that was just a Rhino.
I liked Rhino.
Me too.
That was fun.
What universe is that from? He's not a villain. He's just a Rhino.
Is there an animal universe?
I guess. Did a Rhino pop into someone's universe? And they went, oh, this got to be a Spider-Man thing.
This is the Rhino.
It's like, no, that's just a wild Rhino that got popped in.
Or is there a Spider-Man? Is there a Spider-Man? Like, is that a thing?
Like, I mean, so we've seen a lot of animal Spider-Man. The only Spider-Man that is a spider originally that we know of is Spider-Ham.
Right.
But, yeah, we got Spider-Monkey in this, Spider-Cat, Spider-Horse, kind of, and Spider-T-Rex. Those are the 4 animals with a Spider-Man mask or whatever. They're pretty good.
Is there a man spider? Is that a...
Yes.
There is, yeah.
Oh, there's Spiders-Man, which is a group of 1,000 spiders who believe they are Spider-Man. That's, I think...
Yeah.
Well, that's Spider's Man. I believe there is also Man Spider, who is a, like... He is a Peter Parker who is like a big humanoid spider.
Yes, yeah, the mutate, kind of like... Yeah, the one... And it's like, they did it in the cartoons for a little bit. I don't know if that's how that happened, or if that was already in comics and they adapted it over, but I do remember that from the cartoons. Yeah. I want to say there's another villain we see. Oh, and then there's the Prowler thing. The Prowler thing was cute.
Oh, right, when we finally made up for our society's collective inability to get its shit together enough for Donald Glover to play Miles.
I mean, to be fair, he was already too old to play Miles when they made Miles, and he said that I'm too old to play Miles. Because it was like already when he was doing Community. He was like an adult.
Yeah, you're right.
Like,
it's still something that we as a society have done.
We as a society could have made him Peter Parker in the Amazing Spider-Man movies. That's, I think, the missed opportunity that we corrected with the Miles character.
Then again, it would have been such a horrible punishment to put him in the Spider-Man movies.
That's true. Have you guys seen, speaking of this guy's too old to play live-action Miles, you guys see Shamik Moore this week?
No.
They've been campaigning to play live-action Miles, and everyone's like, you're 30. Nope, you're older than Tom Holland is now. Probably not going to work. And he's like, no, it's okay, you guys. I could do it. It's pretty funny. So you haven't seen any interviews with him, I'm assuming?
No, why?
There's another thing he's trying to do that's pretty funny. And it is hard to watch. It seems, I'm not going to quite 100% say this, that he is trying, he's kind of trying to start a spider romance with his Spider-Man movie girlfriend. Been some really awkward interviews where he's like, oh man, Haley Steinfeld, she's so cool and I love her so much. She rates the best movies and stuff. And Haley Steinfeld is like, thanks, you're a good friend too, Shamik Moore.
Oh no.
It's I would watch 1 or 2 of them, it's pretty cool. But yeah, all the other Spider-Men in the movies did date their Gwen Stacy or Mary Jane at some point. So I would understand his...
And Kirsten Dunst date?
I think so. Let's see.
I remember Andrew Garfield and Emma Stone.
Yeah, and then the other one, that definitely happened. Yeah, they dated each other and broke up about a year later during the course of filming. So, all the Spider-Men in live action, except for Japanese Spider-Man, not sure what his deal was, and Italian Spider-Man, but the ones in the, since the 2000s.
It's a crime that we don't have Italian Spider-Man in this movie.
I know. Do they not have the rights to him? I mean, I'm sure they could get them via lawsuit, but like...
I mean, they definitely don't, because it's like a nonsense thing that some guys in Australia made up.
Yeah, that would be funny, though. What if that's the Spider-Man they have to get to save the multiverse? Because it is technically another... Like, it's like Miles, a Spider-Man that the canon should hate. Pretty cool. Yeah. I think the best Spider-Man is the cat because... Not because it's a cat. I like that it jumps on Miles and attacks his face. And then later during the chase, when they all pass the one that's doing the big hold up exercise thing with the two ropes, it also jumps on that guy and attacks his face. So it wasn't really trying to help catch Miles. It just does that to all the spider people and happened to do that to Miles during the chase. Exactly. Yeah, it's just really aggro cat. I like that about him. Mm-hmm. As opposed to like the dinosaur, which was like helping.
You know what else I like about this movie?
What's up?
What's that?
In all the infinite multiverse of all the realities, we can't find a single person who's a better J. Jonah Jameson than J.K. Simmons.
Yeah.
It's his till he dies. And I want it that way. All right?
No, I'm happy.
Want it that way.
I'm happy about it.
I mean, I have heard someone suggested, I've heard a couple of suggestions for replacements if we had to. I'm pretty sure there was a rumor going around when Far From Home came out that J.B. Smoove was going to be the J. Jonah Jameson of that universe. I think that could have worked. He's got a very kind of J.K. Simmons yelling everything energy. If, molded a little bit, could have felt like what you'd expect from a J. Jonah Jameson while being something new. That rumor was weird, because in that rumor, he was also going to be MJ's dad. Yeah, that's what the J was going to be, because they never said what the J was. It was going to be Jameson, and it was going to be like, sorry, my dad hates you. It obviously didn't happen, so none of it matters. But who's the other one? Oh, someone suggested Stephen A. Smith as the J. Jonah Jameson type.
Let's go.
I don't know. After this week, I'm not a humongous fan, but before I would have loved it.
Yeah, what happened?
I think he came out like pro-Trump this week or something.
No, we did not. There's no way.
Yeah, no, for sure. I'm gonna find it.
Oh my god, are you serious? Man, it's never the ones you would expect, and it's always the ones you'd expect.
Yeah. He said Biden shouldn't run again, but he said something else too. I can't remember what it was, but I don't know.
Why is he dipping into politics? What is wrong with him?
Yeah, what is it with Stephen A. Smith giving his opinions in ways that are unacceptable and weird, Never tried that before.
Stephen A. Smith says the Donald Trump indictment is much ado about nothing.
Oh,
Thanks,
no.
Stephen.
Oh, no.
Stephen A. Smith, Donald Trump isn't racist.
Yeah.
What?
Wow.
Did he get paid off?
But now, you know what that means. Skip Bayless wants universal health care, so that's pretty good, the other side of it.
Hold on. Stephen A. Smith says Trump isn't racist, but won't get his vote. He's trying to thread that needle.
Yeah.
What? What the
I don't
fuck is
know.
going on?
Skip,
weird.
I want to address the issue.
Oh, it's been forever.
Maybe he's going to run for president, and that's why he's doing it. It sounds about right.
We all know Spider-Man catches villains, okay? Mm-hmm. We got Rhino, Vulture, things of that nature. And a lot of people love him. I get that. But Spider-Man is a menace.
Oh, my God.
Oh.
That does sound like something he would say.
Yeah.
If we had a Spider-Man in real life.
On.
Yeah, I think he would.
Dead on.
He would think he's a menace.
Oh, my goodness.
But yeah, I think that would be fun. Someone suggested that on Twitter. I don't remember who it was, but it was a good idea. I don't know. I was kind of hoping we would see him in it. We didn't see that actor, J. Jonah Jameson.
J.K. Simmons, but we saw Lego J. Jonah Jameson.
That's right. And we got new lines for the first time we saw him, it was lines from the first movie. By the way, that's in that scene that's made for children or by a child. You guys saw that?
Yes.
Oh,
a 14-year-old made the Lego set and stuff.
Did not know that. That's awesome. Love that.
Kind of awesome. I hope they had a choice, but
He didn't make the one that's in the movie. He, by himself, did a whole recreation of the first trailer that they saw really cool. So they, contacted him and were like, hey, do you want to get hired to direct a Lego sequence for the actual movie?
Ah, okay.
So I don't think he did that all by himself. I think he directed it, and I do believe that he was compensated for his time.
That's still awesome.
I like
Super
that.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Again, this is the kind of kids should work in the mines that I agree with, and not the kids should work in the mines that's actually going to end up happening. But whatever. I guess they're going to end up in the mines either way. Yeah, in that scene we had old J. Jonah Jameson, but in the for Earth 42, I believe we had new dialogue by J.K. Simmons. So no reason why we can't put him in one of these.
Yeah, for sure.
It's pretty cool. Is there anything you want to see in the new one, the next one, that you're kind of is in your head?
Like, we talked about bringing in more of the Spider people who aren't Spider-Man woman, right? Like, Silk, Madam Web, da-da-da. I mean, part of me is like, we don't want to confuse people too much, but, like, we're so far out that that's probably not a concern. But I will say this. I know they showed in the squad that Spider-Man Noir and Spider-Pig are back. I hope it's Nick Cage and John Mulaney. I hope they are back for the next one.
That'd be pretty funny if they're not. It's just a different guy.
I hope they reintroduce spider totems and Peter Parker turns into a big spider that has sex with, I think, a big spider version of Silk.
Yeah.
And then they trap themselves in cocoons or something.
Yeah, I hope we get Silk in this, and Peter Parker... I guess it would have to be Peter B. Parker, too, is, like, so sexually attracted to her that he can't help it. I hope she's an adult. That's what my hope is, then. I guess she would have to be, because she is technically bitten by the same spider at the same field trip. So, yeah. Silk is a good character with an awful origin, but, like, I like what they've done with her since.
Yeah,
and
spider totems, baby!
They keep saying they're going to do a Silk show on like Amazon or something, and they just can't. They're too busy with their El Muertos and their Hypno Hustlers. Although there's a rumor this week that El Muerto is canceled. No more El Muerto.
Oh,
what did he do?
He tried to fight Spider-Man, and that is not cool these days. You know,
yeah.
The reason he decided to fight him is not a reason you want to have someone fighting Spider-Man. I'll tell you that right now.
Uh-oh.
Speaking of that, is this movie woke?
Oh, it is woke.
Yeah, definitely.
It's thoroughly woke, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think we can possibly deny that this movie is incredibly woke. This movie is as woke as Chick-fil-A. It's as woke as Cracker Barrel. You know, all those famously woke corporations that we're boycotting now, that's how woke Spider-Verse is.
Is Cracker Barrel woke now?
It's so woke.
Yeah.
Just
Cracker
today,
Barrel.
though. It just became woke.
Oh, okay. I was tracking Chick-fil-A. I had no idea Cracker Barrel was also woke.
You can't do it. Yeah, I feel like this movie's pretty woke because it had a Trans Lives Matter sticker in it. That's pretty woke. And also, but my favorite wokeness, they're using trains in the future. It should be only cars. You should have to drive a car.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're not American. Also, there's not as much pollution as would be, like, you know... That's not woke.
They should be breathing in all of that good smog, all those particulates that are good and healthy for you, especially if you're older.
Although, to be fair, underground Nueva York does seem kind of smoggy, so maybe it is better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do.
But also, it's called Nueva York, Nando.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
not English.
Yeah.
That's not English.
It's a dystopia, much like some of the other universes we go to, as opposed to, you know, New York, which is cool. Right, although... Right. Yeah, I'm gonna say it's pretty woke. It's one of the more woke movies I think we've ever seen.
The wokeness levels are turning critical on Spider-Verse.
Yeah. Spider-Man did have a gun, though. One of the Spider-Man had a gun. So
that's true. The Western Spider-Man had the gun.
Yeah, so that was cool. I did
we
like
see
him.
it, though? Did it fire bullets, or did it fire, like, web pellets?
Fires web. He shot it at Spider-Man a couple times, and it made webs.
There we go.
That would be so funny if you just start trying to blow Spider-Man's head off with bullets.
It's like, I'm the edgy Spider-Man.
I mean, like, yeah, it's... Miguel is, like, very violent in a way that none of the other Spider-Men really are, because he's so jagged and, like, spiky and from the 2000s, early 90s. But also, that one Spider-Man does have a gun, and that other Spider-Man's a T-Rex, so I don't think they're taking a lot of prisoners. But maybe they are, I don't know. What happens to a villain that goes through that machine, by the way?
They get sent back to their universe?
Yeah.
And then do they call everybody and go, by the way, you guys? There's fucking Spider-Man in the multiverse? Yeah. I think that's going to change everything in Da Vinci times.
Well, you're assuming that people would believe the Vulture.
Yeah,
I would believe him. He could fly. I'd be like, this guy's probably onto something. If he started saying, yeah, there's a future in Spider-Man. Also, I'd be like, yeah, you know what? He does have a lot of other information about the future of art and stuff. And, like,
yeah, right.
He knows about the Guggenheims and I guess the Sacklers by, association. There's a lot of things he can help stop.
He knows about how eventually art turns into critiques and, like, philosophizing about itself. And,
That's right.
Art is also a meta commentary on what counts as art.
Mm-hmm.
Although he's a cranky old man who thinks modern art is bad.
Correct. I do like that. That might be my favorite. So there's two joke lines in the movie that I loved. I'm curious if you guys have others, because they're subtle when they work. Her line when he says, "This is modern art," and she says, "Well, we're talking about it, right?" I thought that was great.
That was funny.
Very funny, very early. And then the other one that was the best one, I think, is Spider-Punk's introduction when somebody, I forget, I think Miles says, like, "Join me" or something, and Spider-Punk says, "I'm not into joining." And then Spider-Man says, "Wait, aren't you in a band?" And then he says, "I'm not into consistency." I love that.
That was funny,
very,
too.
very funny.
It's a very fun... We haven't really talked about it a lot. It's a very funny movie.
Yeah.
And in a way, like, funny with jokes, not funny with, like little camp things where it's like, I don't know, like a lot of what the MCU is now, where it's got to be like, oh, we need a little, there's like campy, quips. We need our little quips. Like, this had actual jokes, not just quips. And I like that it was jokes, not just quips.
And jokes that were written in a script, as opposed to just, vamped, and then they figured it out afterwards. Because, it's hard to improv animation. I'm sure they can do it, but I feel like they probably just, because like there were all those little bits, like when old cartoon Spider-Man tried to kick Spider-Man, and then Spider-Man missed him, and he was like, "Oh no!" Like stuff like that felt very. It feels very Clone High, and I like that about these.
You know, a sequence that I thought was really funny is when Miles' parents meet Gwen, and just like, I don't know, something about the delivery of those two, the way like Miles' dad goes like, "She looks like she's old enough to vote."
Yep.
It's really funny.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, a great line also in the museum scene where like everything's going on, it's chaos, and then the one guy goes, "Oh, it's a Banksy," and I was like,
"Oh yeah,"
just like so random and good.
Well, that's a reference to the first movie where someone says that about a multiverse portal.
That's right.
Oh my God, I forgot about that.
Mm-hmm.
Oh shit!
Is that what our Banksy is then? Are our multiverse portals just like pictures of the Statue of Liberty holding a big bag with a $sign on it or something? And we're like going, "That's a Banksy," and in reality, that's a portal to the multiverse.
Yeah,
I think that's what happened.
There was one in that same sequence that like absolutely killed Michelle. It was like for her the funniest joke of the movie. It was like the big sculpture of like the poodle dog, and then like they broke a bunch of little ones came out of it.
Yeah,
do you guys remember that?
The guys on the camera were watching. Oh, that's what's in it. Cool.
Yeah. Visual gag, but also I guess that's like an art thing or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah, I've seen that thing before. I don't know if it is or is not filled with those things, but I'd buy it if it was.
Yeah, right.
Did you have a favorite joke, Diggins?
Oh god.
You said no, you said did you not tell us? Did I imagine
meeting
that?
Gwen?
Yes.
Yeah, I guess more like a favorite line,
like
or like
individual
a favorite
joke.
Yeah.
Gosh.
I do think the Spots intro is pretty funny. I like it when people try to convince them that they're not actually robbing them, they're robbing the bank. All that money's insured.
Yeah.
It's pretty cute. And him just trying to drag the ATM machine is pretty funny.
I liked when Miles is heating up whatever, like the Hot Pocket, and the guy's like, how much do I owe you for this? He's like, it's free if you can get them. Like, not it's free because you're Spider-Man. Like, if you have to actually do this.
Oh, you know what line was really good? I think when Indian Spider-Man was explaining his whole deal, and it's like him with his Gwen Stacy, and then Inspector Singh shows up, and he's like, Inspector Singh, I'm here with your daughter, who I don't know.
Yeah, that is cute.
The chai tea bit was great. The non-bread was great.
Yeah, I like the chai tea bit after the ATM machine bit. I remember seeing the chai tea bit out of context, and I was like, this is okay. But this is a little like, not like winking at the audience, but like
Miles
characters saying something like that. But as a play on that, it's very good. Yeah, I thought it was cool. They're going to make another one, you guys.
In 7 years or whatever, we'll get one.
Diggins, you said this was your favorite movie of the year, probably. DJ, is this your favorite movie of the year? Or is it Mario?
So far, Mario's tough. I'm actually unsure if I like this more than Guardians. I really liked Guardians, so I think it's still Guardians for me.
Yeah, I'm mostly with you. I think I like this more than Guardians just because I'm one of those people that likes the movie to be done. And I appreciate this movie, and I can tell it's good, and I'm probably will like Beyond the Spider-Verse the most. But Guardians just felt super satisfying and a good ending, and this felt like the opposite of that. And it's it's what this movie is doing, but it just will not get me to like it more than my favorite ending.
It's still great, though. It's still super great, and I love it.
Yeah.
It's just hard. We have a lot of good movies that are coming out at once.
We do. And some other good ones from earlier this year. Dungeons & Dragons, Mithrigan, those were both this year.
Mithrigan was this year?
It was January, I think, right?
Oh, my God.
Yeah, you're correct.
And there's other movies that I think were good, but I didn't see or have strong feelings about. Like there's like John Wick was this year. I thought that was pretty good. Creed 3 was this year. That was pretty good. Like, they're not my favorite movie of the year, but they're up there. Like I said, Dungeons & Dragons was very good. And then there's other stuff like Air, you know. Plane was this year. You guys remember Plane?
Oh my God, Plane.
How could I forget Plane?
Yeah. Pope's Exorcist, we still haven't watched it, but it could be a contender. Yeah, so you guys, do you want to get to our classic segment?
Yeah, probably.
I would love that.
All right. You guys have anything to recommend to the fine people? DJ, we'll start with you.
I certainly do. I have two things to recommend. One accessible and one slightly less accessible. So the first one, I am recommending Diablo 4, the greatest game ever of the year. So great. Yeah, no, I've been playing a ton of Diablo 4.
The greatest game made in the most ethical manner.
By a company DJ agrees with everything they've done.
Hey, listen. I understand that Blizzard's catching some heat over the past couple, half decades.
Yeah, for everything I've ever done.
And like, I know a lot of people would have preferred, maybe Nano's one of them, for Blizzard to make an Overwatch PvE instead of Diablo. But you know
what? If they didn't tell me they weren't going to make it, I wouldn't have been so mad. Also, maybe not all that sexual harassment from a couple of years ago. Maybe not that Cosby room. I don't know. That's just
also that. There's so many L's. But that being said, sometimes you just got to take a game in a vacuum. And listen, we're going to be talking about it in a couple weeks. How do we separate the art from the artist with a little certain movie that Nando may have had a little certain turnaround with a certain actor that maybe he's cool now. Maybe they're cool now, right? Right?
Wait. Tear off Nando's mask. Is Tom Cruise under there?
It's Tom Cruise and Stephen King, like a horse with two guys in it. It's both of us. I don't write any movies anymore. It's my interns. Oh my God, it's Stephen King. He's back.
So all that being said, I legitimately think Diablo 4 is very good. It's a very good ARPG. I will say, so something with Diablo 3 I was pretty disappointed with was I thought their season pass model was quite bad, and just a complete and total grift. I am hoping that this time around the seasonal post-game content is better. I am sincerely hoping for that.
Yeah, I think they'll probably follow up on that thing they promise you in the game. That will be what Blizzard does this time. Fool me once, I think, is the thing, and that's the only time you can be fooled.
I think if any of the news that has come about Blizzard in the past 10 years, it's that they definitely learned their lesson.
Do you think Blizzard has just watched the Bethesda thing and gone like, woo, thank God there's another B company making games that's worse than us this week. Like, we could not have been luckier that our names are kind of similar.
Did they have a bad release this week?
I mean, they had Redfall or whatever, right? The worst game ever made. But then there've been rumors that well, they had a game that was so bad the guy that made it apologized immediately. That's usually about as bad as a game could be. But yeah, the Starfield game people have been
right.
Like,
we're unsure of whether that will be good or not.
Yeah,
right?
A lot of the leakers, or at least one of the leakers that said that this game was going to be very bad, were also like Starfield is in a really tough spot.
Okay,
we'll see if that's true. Also, the Gollum game came out this week. That's not them, but that is the new worst game ever made.
Yeah. So anyway, I think Diablo 4 is good. Even if it is only a solid 40-hour campaign and they lied about all the seasonal stuff being there, which is totally, on the table, I think it's okay. I'm just having such a fun time with it. It's hard. The build crafting is so good. I'm playing a sorcerer. I'm a little squishy magic boy. But, I got it where it counts. And that's burning and freezing my enemies to death. So, you got to make what do. So that was very good. Also, I saw a Broadway show this past week. That's why our recording time got a little delayed. It was my fault. My bad. I saw Some Like It Hot.
Yeah.
Diggins, have you seen this?
I wrecked it on this very podcast.
No, you didn't.
It's the only reason I know it exists. Oh, yeah, he did.
No, you didn't.
100%.
100% did, yes.
Yeah.
That's impossible.
It's true. It's impossible. That's never happened. DJ, what universe do you think you're in?
Oh my gosh. Well, wait. Diggins isn't on the show. It's two Nandos on the show.
Oh no,
That's right.
DJ.
I'm a Nando variant.
Yeah, and secretly DJ is Tom Cruise. That's what we're gonna be revealed.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Damn it. I'm like really upset now. Well, I also saw Something Like It Hot. So Nando, you gotta go see Something Like It Hot.
I mean,
but you
look
should.
it
It's
up.
like really good.
Is there?
It's really, really
is
good.
there a,
Yes.
a lottery for it? Then I'll definitely try to see
There's
it.
Rush. There's Rush.
Listen,
do
I
Rush.
got 50% off Orchestra Streets when I rushed, and I don't think it's selling amazing, so that seems like a not hard thing to get.
Nice.
But it got nominated for like 13 Tonys, and if it wins all of them this Sunday, that could be the little catapult that shoots it into the stratosphere.
Yeah, so-
but they do have Rush tickets.
So maybe do that soon.
Do we think it's
Well-
the favorite for that? I haven't really paid too much attention.
I have no idea. I haven't
am
really been
not
paying
plugged
attention
in at all.
I would have to ask Michelle. She knows. That other option: marry someone who works for Telecharge, and then they could get you tickets. That's like the
There
other
you
one.
go.
Hey, well, whichever's easier. Which
Depends on the show, honestly. There
Yeah.
are some shows where that's an easier option.
that is true.
All right, so I'm embarrassed now, so I'm just going to pass it on to Diggins. Do you have anything to rec?
Yeah, I'm going to, like a Spider-Man running away from dozens of other Spider-Men. I'm going to sprint through these because I got a few.
Yeah.
One,
Do it faster than you do wrecking your channel.
I
Do it faster than
finished.
that.
I finished season 2 of Yellow Jackets. Phenomenal, incredible
Oh.
show. Definitely check that one out. And I watched a bunch of movies. One is called Wild Rose. It's like kind of like Star is Born type movie about like someone, trying to find success in the music industry, but she's a Scottish woman who wants to be a country singer, and also a single mom. It's everything you're thinking of when I say those words, but it's done pretty well. Like, I think it pretty effectively like evokes the emotions it's going for, and like has a clear arc for her that feels satisfying, and also isn't based on an actual person, so it's not just every single detail of her life, but actually just a story. So all of that makes it pretty good. I saw a new movie, You Hurt My Feelings.
Oh, was that any good?
I enjoyed it. I don't think it's amazing, but I think it has this really nice rhythm to it. Like, the characters feel very lived in a way that makes it like a very cozy watch, I think. But it also, I think, the whole idea, like the central premise is that there's this married couple, one's a therapist, the wife is an author. She's writing this new book that he's been encouraging her about, being like, oh, it's so great, you're gonna, sell it, whatever. But then she finds out that actually he doesn't like it very much. And he's just been lying to be supportive. And she gets very upset about that. And it kind of spins out from there. Like, that's sort of the central premise, but it's honestly a lot more expansive than that. It's just generally about lies we tell to other people for the sake of them or for ourselves, or just like all manner of like when and why we might lie to someone that we care about. And like most, like, it's not like heavy. It's all about white lies, like innocuous lies, like that. Like saying you like your wife's manuscript when you don't really, because you're not really that much of a, literary critic. So what do you know? So just tell her it's good. Like little things like that. And I think it explores that whole topic very well. I watched another movie called Brawl in Cell Block 99.
Oh.
This is from a couple years ago, I think. It's kind of like a I don't know what you call it, like nouveau grindhouse sort of film, where it's characterized by its extreme bouts of violence, but it's interesting because it's actually a very slow, almost contemplative kind of movie. The premise is essentially that a man played by Vince Vaughn with a pregnant wife goes to jail when a drug deal he's involved in goes wrong because his partners walk right into a police sting and then try to kill the cops. So he goes to jail, and the drug lord who lost money because of this is like, hey, you gotta get yourself into a maximum security prison and kill a guy for me, or I'm gonna kill your wife's baby.
Oh my god.
Yeah. Now, I say that's the main premise, and it is. It doesn't happen until an hour into the movie. And this is what I mean by being very slow and contemplative, but in a very interesting way. And then when the violence does come, it's like these short, sharp shocks of extreme brutality. Like when he fucks a guy up in this movie, he fucks them up.
Yeah.
But I really enjoyed it, actually. I think if you can handle that sort of extreme violence in short bursts, I think It's very compelling. I think Vince Vaughn does a great job of like inhabiting this character, who's very stoic, but also like extremely corny.
That's cool.
So I liked it a lot. Those are my recs. What about you, Nando?
I've finished a couple things that I've been working on, watching and stuff. So I watched, I finished Air. I think I probably started recommending that because I got about halfway through. I finished it. It's exactly what you think, and I had a good time with it. I don't think it's the best movie ever made, but, it's a movie about a company that is heroes because they did a Big Short, or really they did a Moneyball, and then invented something kind of. So I enjoyed it. I don't think it's, gonna blow your mind. It's interesting if you have the context of what Michael Jordan was. Like if you like me grew up through some of it, not all of Michael Jordan. It's a little bit interesting to see this happen. They do that thing where they don't show Michael Jordan's face, like he's the neighbor from Home Improvement, and that's pretty weird. But other than that, the movie's pretty cool.
Well, because they didn't did they cast a Michael Jordan?
There's a guy standing there. They just don't show his face, so I'm assuming he just wouldn't let them. Like he wouldn't let them use his face in some of the video games, so he's just a silhouetted man. And you're like, that's Michael Jordan, I guess. But yeah, there's also some bits where the movie talks about Michael Jordan and cuts in clips of Michael Jordan, like where they're like, Michael Jordan, you're the greatest basketball player, but you're gonna have some troubles, and like it gets. I honestly don't think it's so like. I don't think it acts as propaganda to Nike the way that I kind of expected it would, where it would make them seem like the only ethical shoe company or whatever. It does feel like it's propaganda for Michael Jordan in a way that I'm not super thrilled about, but whatever.
He loves that, though.
Exactly. And like, I'm sure there were some rules about it where that had to be in there. So whatever. I also I got through season 2. We've really been booking it through The Great. I'm pretty close to caught up. I don't know where they are in season 3, but I keep being scared to look at posters or things for seasons, like for where we currently are, where I get spoiled. But I still think that show's pretty good. I think Nicholas Hoult is really good, and I think what's her name is very good, Elle Fanning. I think Nicholas Hoult is, there's rumors that he's in the running for Superman. I buy it. I'm kind of like, they should do it.
No more British people.
I know,
what are we doing?
I know.
Cast an American. What are we doing?
We don't have any. They don't make.
We have so many. I am done with these British Supermen. Stop.
I don't know. I think we should do a British guy this time. It would be cool. We have our American Superman on the show. That's good. So
I guess.
You've been watching that, DJ? You've been supporting our American Superman? No, I didn't think so. So maybe we don't need it. Yeah, The Great is fun. I've been reading comics. One of the ones that I've been reading, speaking of Superman, in preparation for video I'm doing, is I've been reading all of The Authority. So this is a cast of characters created in the Wildstorm universe back in the day, in the 90s. And they are I would say, not the first, what if the superheroes were kind of like fascists even, because it's not really what they are until later. In the beginning, they're just like, what if the superheroes decided killing was cool, and we're like, fuck you guys, and the book was kind of also cool with it. Like, it's happened before. Like, Hyperion took over the government in Squadron Supreme back in the 80s, and like, so it's been done. And obviously it's been done since every other comic book has done some version of this, but this is one of the original ones. This is also where Midnighter and Apollo, they weren't introduced here, but they showed up, and this is where they became kind of big stars, the two Superman and Batman pastiches who are gay relationship like partners, and at least in this, sometimes they break up. But these guys are going to be in a movie because they did kind of get merged into the DC comics universe, and then the Authority is getting their own movie. It seems like, especially according to news that dropped today, they are going to be the villains in the Superman movie or something like that. And then they are going to become reformed, probably because the one evil one gets killed or something. And then they're like, we're going to be good guys. And then you're going to get like a Midnight or an Apollo-led Authority in the future. So I've been trying to get a sense for what these comics are. They're written by Warren Ellis, historically person, but good at these. I think Warren Ellis is Warren Ellis is like if Grant Morrison was a little bit less creative. But it's still like,
wow.
Honestly though, it's like the only person I can think of
You're not wrong. It's just a
Yeah.
very funny way to describe him.
The only person I could think of that writes books like this where it's like, what's this guy's deal? Cities, man. He can like stand in the city and use powers from them and make a big monster kaiju thing, and they live in a different dimension that's not even real, and it's a big spaceship that can also talk or whatever. Like, that feels like something Grant Morrison would put together, but it's just like a little less clever. Anyway, the first issue of The Authority, or the first volume of The Authority, which is what Warren Ellis wrote, I think is terrific. Really, really good. Really nuanced. The art is beautiful. It's by Brian Hitch, and like, love it. The second volume, which is when Mark Millar took over, I cannot stand.
Oh no!
I understand what they were going for, but like immediately introduces like Avengers who swear, and like it's so different.
God, I mean, listen, Mark Millar took over is already like a death sentence, but given the premise of this is exactly the thing that he shouldn't be given, because he will misunderstand it so hard.
Exactly. And like some of the writing, like some of it I think is good in terms of like it being written, but just like taking these characters who really do have, I think in the first volume, a lot going on, and feel like a pretty clever take on this. One that especially since has been done so much less interesting. Like, you know, your Injustices and whatnot. Not that Injustices is all bad. But, yeah, taking that from the Warren Ellis and going to Mark Millar is not great. Also, they eventually do take over the government. I haven't gotten to that bit yet. But, yeah. It's like, I remember reading the first volume of this after having explained to me and going, that does not feel like what we're doing. This doesn't feel like these guys are really secretly bad and going to do fascism. And it's like, yeah, it's because that writer didn't want them to. But then they didn't do that writer forever, and then they did. So anyway, I like that book. The first volume of that, which is its own, like, if you go to a store, it is book one, The Authority by Warren Ellis and Brian Hitch. I think it's a lot of fun. Besides that, I haven't been reading too much. I'm trying to read, you know what I am reading? I just keep starting and then stopping because the app is bad. No, it's not all bad. I'm reading the Spider-Punk mini that came out this year, or last year, which is 5 issues, and it's just a Spider-Punk story. And it's pretty cool. It's like, it does feel like this character from the books. I wouldn't say the art is quite as like, but you can see where they got some of it from. Or like, they feel similar, and it is very like anarchist and stuff, so it's cool. I would recommend that, but I haven't finished it yet. What are we doing next week, fellas? I mean, I know, but what are we doing next week?
Let them come.
Let them come.
Let them come.
The gorilla is coming. All over us.
All
Run.
the beasts of the jungle are coming.
Yeah. And Pete Davidson's
Oh,
there.
gross.
Those two
And Pete
things.
Davidson,
Yeah, which is
yeah.
grosser, who knows? We're doing Transformers Rise of the Beasts, a movie that I have not seen yet because the screenings were the same day as Flash, but I know what the post-credits scene is, and it is pretty bizarre.
Oh, I don't know.
I'm excited for us to talk about it, and just for it to be something much like Vulture Morbius that we can all like look at 2 years later and go, they had no idea what they were doing.
Oh
okay.
no, but that means it might be edited out by the time TJ and I see it.
It's a very good point. Also,
Oh no!
isn't it cute that Spider-Verse kind of explains Vulture Morbius as like that is the incursion that kind of dropped him in the wrong universe. It even made Morbius good. That's how much of a hero this movie is. Yeah, so
Incredible.
Transformers Rise of the Beast next week. Very excited for that. You guys have anything to plug? DJ, plugs.
Usual roasts and rejections, wrapping up the season finale of The Ultimatum, which we had some thoughts on. Kind of was a little bit of a weakish ending, but listen that to hear our thoughts.
Diggins, what about you? Anything to plug?
Nope. Nando, do you have anything to plug?
I don't have any new videos, I think, that have come out since the last one. I am working on my fan casting The Authority thing, so I've been trying to like kind of take my time with it. Yeah, so, you know, oh, you know what? No, that's not true. I have done some Nando cut videos that have been like talking about the, Fantastic Four casting that probably happened, although it's not 100% confirmed. And then some about, and one about the, what's the other cast, or the other video I did? Flash review. So if you want to hear my early thoughts on that, you can check that out. And
Nando, you should try and get some beta keys for DC Dual Strike or whatever.
I tweeted
Strike
to that
Force
one
Duel.
person that one time and then forgot it existed. But if they want to send me them, they're welcome to. I will do my best to read all the information on those cards. I might just pick the ones that are characters I like more and see if those have synergy. So, yeah, get ready for a deck that's bad. But, yeah, until next week, I'm at Nando V Movies on Twitter.
I'm at Zippy by Day.
I'm at This Is an Odd Name.
Goodbye, everybody. Goodbye.
Woo!
Bye. We love you.